Welcome to the post-game show. How y'all doing? The queue is fired up. The chat is fired up. We got about 100 people in here. I expect a few more to roll in. Let's talk about this game. Let's talk about a lot of stuff. Let's talk about the play-in. Let's talk about this team, the Washington Wizards, that we're due to face this team again on Saturday, hopefully with a better result on Saturday than we got tonight. And let's talk about what happened tonight, because I'll be honest, we talked to a lot of people during the game. A lot of people messaged during the game. It's probably the first game where about 8 people messaged somewhere in the third quarter said, I can't watch this. It was very frustrating to watch. You don't win them all. This is the NBA. It's an 82-game season. You are. However, there are certain losses that just count a little bit more. There are some games you just need to get. It's for momentum. It's a particular rivalry. The Raptors hadn't lost to the Wizards in Washington since 2018. This was a hell of a night to throw up an egg from Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet. It's not all on them, though, guys. We're going to talk about it. Let's talk about who didn't show up, who did show up. And we can't start talking about who showed up without talking about Kyle Kuzma, a permanent fixture on this show. You know, there's an old caller who used to bring him up a lot, Marco. His name was Marco, and he used to say Raptors need to trade for Kyle Kuzma. And I gotta tell you, watching Kyle Kuzma tonight, you kind of see why. A lot of people might think that Kyle Kuzma is the answer. He just looked like he was the best player on the court sometimes, and that was not something I was prepared to watch. I don't think I was prepared to watch the Kyle Kuzma game in a game that featured Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes. I was not prepared to watch a game in which Kyle Kuzma was the guy doing whatever the heck he wanted on the court. This is a tough game to lose because this is a team that you are desperately trying to put some distance between yourself and them. And it's a team that is nipping right at your heels. It's a team that it falls in a group of teams that I don't think that the Raptors necessarily are ready to see in a do or die situation. Prior to the game, we did a poll. This is the result of the poll. I got to be honest. This does not shock me, but I hope the Raptors management sees this. The question, of course, for the visually impaired is, how comfortable are you facing the Wizards in a play-in, one game, do or die situation? My mistake on the misspelling of situation. Very comfortable, confident, but humble. It's pretty much a toss-up. They terrify me. 80% of you think it's either a toss-up or they terrify us. Is this a knee-jerk reaction, or are the Wizards for real? I cannot tell you that I think that the Wizards are a better team. That would be disingenuous. However, I can tell you that I think that the Wizards are the more talented team. That is a depressing reality. I think the Atlanta Hawks are a more talented team. Also a depressing reality. I think there are a lot of teams that are just more talented than the Raptors, and it's a reality that we're just going to have to face. It was a very interesting and somewhat sobering turn of tone from Alvin Williams tonight. You know, the same person who was telling me earlier in the season that Pascal Siakam is an MVP, a top 5 player. Matt Devlin had to sit and watch that man say, there are no stars. There are no superstars on the court tonight. And when there are no superstars on the court, teams have to lean in on defense. That was very strange and honest. That was very honest. Thank you, Alvin Williams. That was very honest. But it was also a very strange thing to hear from someone who is basically paid to pump up the Raptors. He said, it's just my take, but there are no superstars here. No superstars. That's exactly what it is. There are no superstars. There are, however, 3 guys on the court tonight who paid like superstars. One guy who's hoping to be paid like a superstar. There's a guy that a lot of us hope will become a superstar in Scotty Barnes. He was not a superstar tonight. There were no fourth quarter heroics from Scotty Barnes. There were, however, fourth quarter heroics from OG Anunoby, who tried his damnedest to will his team back. He could not, but it was nice to see OG bounce back. Good game from Jakob Poeltl individually. Good game from him. He and Fred VanVleet seem to have really rediscovered some of the chemistry that they had. Somewhat underrated storyline that DeLon Wright, when he was with the Raptors, had demanded out. People don't talk about that enough. And I was a really big DeLon Wright fan. Really big. Going right back to Utah. I loved him. I loved his game. Gotta be honest, I was really rooting for him tonight. It's one thing to see, your old team. It's another thing to see your old team being run by the guy that effectively replaced you in the plans, and that was Fred VanVleet. And that's what it was. DeLon Wright was not willing to be a third string point guard, nor should he ever have been a third string point guard. He was a hell of a player. And I know that Fred VanVleet has become an all-star, but I often wonder about DeLon Wright. He was never really able to stay completely healthy. I think a lot of things went wrong. But in terms of just fit, talent, I've always loved DeLon Wright. And he's had some sneaky, really good seasons, and I think that he's a really good player. Let's look at the team stats. Man, this is hard to watch. This is hard to look at. But the Raptors just, I feel like I need to record a soundbite of me saying the Raptors surrender over 50% from the field and just play it before every single show. Because once again, they allow another team to shoot over 50%. Insult to injury, they get outshot from the three-point line on higher volume, mind you, on higher volume. Well, on lower volume, but with more makes. 51%, 46% from three for the Wizards. The Raptors themselves, take a ton of three-pointers. They take more threes than the Wizards, but they put up 27%. Again, Jakob Poeltl going 7 for 7 from the line. I mean, who the hell saw that coming? The Raptors shoot 17 for 17 from the free throw line. This certainly did not hurt. Both teams tie on the rebound. I'm surprised this game was as close as it was. I'm going to be honest. The Raptors win the field goal attempts margin. They get more steals. They get more blocks. Yes, that tends to be the trend. Yet they get fewer points off of turnovers. Why? Well, I think if we had a video department, probably this is the part where we fire up Pascal Siakam missing an open layup on a fast break. Maybe that's, when we do that. I don't know. There was some very comical shacking a fool moments for both teams tonight where it seemed like you could just play circus music and just watch both teams just go and take shot after shot after shot, not hit anything. But, credit to the Wizards. They were in a desperate win now situation. They had to win. And they did. And credit to Kyle Kuzma. Goes 10 for 24. Not a super efficient shooting night, but 30 points. Lights out from 4 3-pointers made. He gets to the line a lot. It's just a balanced game. And he even took a charge on Scotty Barnes, not known as a defender, but Kyle Kuzma really brought it tonight. The Wizards, a team that playing two centers, like that's crazy in today's NBA, but one of their centers can shoot. And Kristaps Porzingis, 25 points, 5 rebounds. Daniel Gafford, low-key, one of my favorite players in the NBA. Daniel Gafford, 18 points, good game from him. And, I've been talking about Denny Avdija, I feel like, for a year now, in terms of a guy that the Raptors should target. You see it, in terms of his defense. I seriously, every time I saw him on Siakam, I was telling my girlfriend, he's going to miss. And when Siakam hit it, I was very surprised. Not a great game from Pascal Siakam. Let's take a look at the Raptors right tonight. 13 points for Siakam, negative 10 plus minus while on the court. 6 for 16 shooting. Siakam and Barnes combined for 1 for 8 3-point shooting. Where would they have been without OG Anunoby? 4 for 9, 6 for 19 overall, 26 points. This was probably the best game OG's had in over a month. So, it was good to see from that perspective. Jakob Poeltl, very efficient as aforementioned, 23 points, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 steals. He was all over the place and he was absolutely playmaking. Easy to say that Jakob and OG were the Raptors' 2 best players tonight. I think they played really well. Scotty Barnes, not a great game. A lot of frustration, a lot of a couple of forced shots that were just not good shots for him. A lot of shots that he should take that he's hesitating on. I did not like this game from Scotty at all. I think the defense was okay. I'd gotten accustomed to seeing good defense from Scotty Barnes. Today, the defense was not good at all. And when the Raptors did go to the bench, they really didn't find anything on the bench. They really couldn't. I mean, Gary Trent Jr., that's not a typo. That's 4 points, negative 26, plus minus 2 for 7. He gets the quick hook, only gets 18 minutes. Um, that's yikes. That's a far cry from where he was just, a couple of weeks ago. This type of performance was just such an anomaly. And to have it on the road really a must win. And again, I don't want to be dramatic when I say must win. It feels ridiculous to be saying this, must win every single game. But man, like when you are where the Raptors are in the standings, yes, these games are must wins, especially when, again, as I mentioned before, you are facing off against a team that is directly behind you. And after tonight, that gap grows ever razor thin. And if the Raptors lose to the Wizards on Saturday, the Wizards will pass the Raptors. And, there's enough talent on this team that they could easily reel off 5 straight. The Raptors have enough of a schedule, hike coming up on the road that they could easily lose 5 straight. The Brooklyn Nets are doing the Raptors a huge favor by falling in the standings. The New York Knicks have won 6 straight since trading for Josh Hart. So you're not catching the Knicks, and you might catch the Brooklyn Nets if they completely fall apart. I think you need the Wizards to stay behind you if you want any chance. The Raptors are a terrible road team this year. They have a terrible losing record on the road. And if you are in a play-in situation in a do-or-die game, I think you need to be on the road, especially if you are the 9th team, in which case you have to win 2 games. 2 games. You have to win 2 in a row, do-or-die situations. And in every single situation, I hate to say it, to the Pascal diehards out there, you are going to be facing a team with a more talented offensive player than you have. In every situation, whether it be the Wizards with Bradley Beal, whether it be the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young and their dysfunctional ass organization right now, whoever it is, whether it be the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler, you are always going to be at a disadvantage. You are always going to have the slightly less dynamic, slightly less efficient, slightly less clutch, slightly less battle tested player. And that is the test. That's basically what Alvin Williams was talking about. Now, there was a caller on this show who was in the queue but has since disappeared. His name was Shaan. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, prior to the Raptors facing off against the Chicago Bulls, he said there was an 85 or 95% chance that the Raptors would win against the Bulls, the Wizards, and the Wizards 3 in a row. And I told him, and I tried to explain joint probability to him to no avail. And I just basically told him that it was not going to happen, and that if it were to happen, that at no point would it be such a decidedly overwhelmingly positive odds for the Raptors. And I told him if he was super confident that he should bet his house. And I'm really hoping that he was not calling in today to tell me that he bet his house and now he is homeless. But and let that be a lesson to all of you who do sports betting. You will go broke. Don't do it. Okay, so we've got a few callers lined up. I do want to say a quick thing before we get into the callers. And there's some Larry's in the queue. We haven't heard from Larry in a while. I think that'll be a real treat. The aforementioned Shaan is here, and we'll certainly, I'm sure, have a light discussion and poke some fun at his prediction. And I just want to say quickly that we did sign up with a sponsor. I believe the paperwork is probably in the works tomorrow or the next day. This is a huge milestone for us. We have been not really funded by anybody other than you guys, your super chats and, your support through ad revenue and stuff. And to actually get a sponsor that's going to be able to help us, it's going to help me so much. Really, I'm so excited. I'm so happy that this content, even though it's sometimes controversial and inflammatory, has not, thrown away all the sponsorship potential that we had. And I hope to say, within the next week, that these videos are going to start looking a little bit better. I realize that I look like I'm working off of a laptop from 2012, and it is because I am. It's because I'm working off a laptop from 2012. And so hopefully the production value and the graphics packs and stuff, and, we have so much that we want to do with this channel. I really do. I have an entire content calendar, subjects that I want to broach, prospects that I want to talk about. And, now that we've passed 5,000 subscribers, it was always in my head 5,000 subscribers was the gap where I was like, that's where I want to start stepping it up a lot. So I think you can expect this channel to get a lot better over the next 3 months. If you're not, like particularly, thrilled about it, it'll get better. All right. So, all right. First up, let's talk Nathaniel. What's up, man?
Hey, is this the Raptors therapy session? Is this Dr. Rob? Because
I'm not a doctor. I
I
did not
need
get
some
my
therapy.
Oh
I need some
gosh.
therapy, man.
Okay.
Raptors therapy, man. This is oh my God. I was pulling my hair out watching
Oh
Fred.
no, don't do
See,
that.
not literally, but like I was I
Okay.
was, I was screaming at the TV. I was I was I was so annoyed. What the hell happened? What the hell was that?
Okay. Would
What
it
the
help?
hell?
Wait. Would it help us to take? Okay. So I got to tell you, when I'm stressed, what I do is breathe in, breathe out. So we could do that. We could try that.
Oh man.
We could take a couple deep breaths. That could help.
Yeah.
What else could we do? Um, I don't know. What else can we do? Can we burn the box
So
score? We print out the box score and then burn it.
bleach my
Um,
eyes.
so was it Fred Van Vliet that was the
Uh,
the source of your or was it just watching Kyle Kuzma look like prime Larry Bird?
Man, I was taking notes during the game, and about somewhere through the second quarter, I just stopped, and then I tried to pick it up again in late in the third,
Oh no.
and
What were the notes?
oh God,
Were they like self-reflective notes, like why am I doing this to myself? Like
yeah,
were they
yeah,
like more
one,
of the existential
yeah,
quality of notes,
just
or were they
notes
like
notes about the game, so I can remember what I want to talk about, so I don't
okay?
forget. So,
So what'd you take notes on?
so a couple of the points was the Wizards' paint defense in the first quarter was really good with the two big lineup. I believe at some point they played zone and Kyle Kuzma went on like a 10-0 run by himself, which I thought
Mm,
was just kind of ridiculous. He's a 33% three-point shooter, so that's not really something you really expect. You know what I mean? And the
mm,
Wizards as a whole are not really a great three-point shooter. And I was listening to Raptors Republic earlier,
mm-hmm.
and he had a Wizards guy on, and he was talking about, oh, who's going to start, Kristaps or Gafford? And he was like, definitely Kristaps. And I wasn't expecting Gafford to even be in the starting lineup,
Right.
and he was, and there's no shooting, and we have people pressing up on DeLon Wright like he's Steph Curry, and I just don't understand. I don't understand why there's this need to pressure up on non-shooters when you can sag back in the paint, and you want the non-shooters taking the majority of the shots. So let them shoot. Let him shoot. Let DeLon Wright beat you. That's the goal. You're not supposed to let Kyle Kuzma beat you, even if he is maybe the third option. I would have liked to see more Jeff Doughton. I would have liked to see more Chris
Jeff
Boucher.
Doughton, believe it or not. So here's the crazy part. So
Okay.
tonight, my friend Adam had gifted me courtside tickets to the Raptors 905, which I had not auctioned off, I'd given away on the previous show. And I
Mm-hmm.
hope whoever won those tickets, I forget his name right now, but I emailed them to him. I hope he enjoyed it because not only did I believe Joe Wieskamp, Jeff Doughton, Christian
Mm-hmm.
Coloco, Delana Benton, they were all with the 905. And I was
Jeez.
just watching that, and I was thinking about this game, and I'm like, I could have been courtside watching Joe freaking Wieskamp and Jeff Doughton,
Yeah.
two players that I really like a lot. Now, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I just like good basketball, and
Yeah.
I like guys who play good basketball. I understand there are levels to this. I'm not suggesting that Fred Van Vliet is a worse player than Jeff Doughton. I just like watching Jeff Doughton more than I like watching Fred Van Vliet personally. Um, yeah, yeah,
Hello. I lost
yep.
you. I lost you for about 10 seconds there. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Your goat saying I'm up to a 300 elo rating, Rob.
What does that
Congratulations.
mean?
Oh, it's a chess rating.
Oh,
Your goat picked up chess. And we played. We If you want to come on later and tell people what happened to you, I'll be happy to let you.
did he get
Um,
smoked?
oh my God,
uh,
he got killed. He
yeah.
died. Like he died. We threw a funeral for him in chess.
Oh man.
Um, Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. I'm really happy that people are picking up chess. I think it's a really good thing. And there was actually a
Mm-hmm.
remarkable comment, and I cannot remember who it was from. Um, but he's someone who leaves thoughtful and insightful comments on our videos all the time. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, "It seems that the Raptors assumed they were in the end game So he made a chess. I think he knew that I like
Mm.
chess, so then he made a chess thing.
Hmm.
And the point being that Jakob Pertl, this trade that you made, Will Barton, these moves that the roster seems like that they're making right now, not
Yeah.
playing younger guys, pushing Christian Coloco out, these are
Yeah.
types of things that teams do when they're serious about actually making some noise in the playoffs. That's an
Mm.
end game move. Trading away future
Yeah.
pick for Jakob Pertl is an end game move. This is the type of move that I would
Mm.
be very comfortable with Denver making or Boston making or even the LA
Milwaukee.
Clippers making or
Hmm.
Milwaukee making.
Yep.
Teams that have a real shot. If a team
Hmm.
like Washington, Chicago, Toronto, these teams make this move, I'm my first instinct is, who are you kidding? Who
Right.
who are you who are you kidding? Who are you lying to?
Right.
Are you lying to yourselves? Are you lying to your fans? Are
Hmm.
you lying to me? Like, don't lie to me, yo. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's
Catfished. We feel catfished as fans right now.
a little bit, yeah, like a little switcheroo, you feel a
Yeah.
little bit duped, right?
Hmm.
Look, I think it's fair to say that the talent on paper for the Raptors has not materialized. I think when I look at this roster as objectively as I possibly can, I see a lot of really good players, right?
Hmm.
I don't,
Individually.
however, see individually, yes,
Hmm.
individually. Despite, on the last show, someone was very critical of OG Anunoby, saying, he'll never be a third option or something like that,
That's cap.
to that
That's a
effect.
big cap.
Total. And I was just like, man, like, he's a really good player. He's a really
Hmm.
good player. The
I love
problem is,
OG.
you have a lot of those players. You have a lot of
Right.
guys who are kind of third option, second option. They're
Hmm.
all that way. And,
Yeah.
it would be like having a team full of Kyle Kuzmas.
I would. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't really like Kyle Kuzma too much. I watched that Lakers championship, but he fucking roasted us. Sorry for my language. He roasted us today. He absolutely flamed us. I mean, at some point, I was screaming on the TV, "Switch OG onto Kuz!" Like put someone else on Bradley Beal. I saw Fred was guarding Zach LaVine in the other
Yeah.
games. So I was thinking, well, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, not the same, but if anything, Zach LaVine is more explosive and quicker and can get to the rim. So 6'3" versus 5'11", Fred being generous. Then maybe I like the defense he played on Kristaps Porzingis. You
Yeah.
know, um, man, what you were
Wait,
saying,
you like Fred's defense on Kristaps
just
Porzingis?
just the one possession where he had him, where he was trying to post Fred up in the middle of the court, and Fred hit him with that Kyle Lowry defense. He used his
Mm,
lower center of gravity,
yeah,
right, and he forced, and then OG railed off 9 straight points, and then got the steal off Fred's defense. Listen, I like Fred, but I don't like him that much. Where I think he's like the perfect basketball player. I still like Kyle better,
that's
but
wow, that's a pretty high bar. It's a pretty high bar. Perfect basketball player. I don't know if that exists, but it's not Fred VanVleet. And
no, no,
that mismatch that they found with Porzingis in the post was so projectable, so predictable. You would be surprised
yeah.
that they even thought, like, it's just Porzingis is 7'3".
He's a big guy. I wanted the
He's
Raptors to
huge.
get him, to be honest.
I like him.
He's
I like
he's
him.
I do.
I
I do
realize that
too.
a lot of guys, again, anchoring bias. People get a certain reputation about a certain guy, maybe because he
Yeah.
has an injury. Maybe one of those analysts on ESPN puts up a hot take about him. Maybe there's a preconceived notion or a bias that guys from Europe are soft,
Yeah.
and it didn't
We
work
could
out in
use him.
Dallas. A lot of reasons, right? But he's
Yeah.
a hell of a talent, hell of a talent, and any team could use the Kristaps Porzingis. He's a really good rim defender, really good drop big, and he can space the floor, man. So if he was
Hmm.
available, I mean, the Wizards paid very little to get him, very
Yeah.
little. I was shocked when I saw how low his value was and what they paid to get him. Yeah, I would have liked to see the Raptors get him. I think he's a hell of a talent, and
Yeah.
it's talent that gives you hope for the future in my
Right.
opinion. It's middling talent and praying that it'll all mesh together for a
Yep.
competitive first round series.
Scotty
That's
B.
what's depressing as a Raptor fan. Anyway,
Yeah.
Nathaniel, thanks a lot, man. Do you have any final
No
notes?
problem.
Final
Um.
thoughts?
Just can I just rail off a quick few notes I have, just like 30
Sure.
seconds.
Go ahead.
Sure. So I thought that the Fred screening thing came into play at the end of the game when the Raptors really needed a bucket, and I was just really confused because that didn't happen until about, I don't know, the end of the third, start of the fourth. I was just like, oh my god, can we not run a couple of these during the game? Fred, like you said in the other show, Gary's not that great of a screener, but in that starting lineup, Fred screens for a ball handler, and then he fades out, and then you know what I'm saying? Like they kick it out to Fred for a three, or they punish the mismatch, and I just don't understand why there isn't more of that. And I get that Pirtle's man can come up and challenge, but then you just dump it off to Pirtle, right? I
Hmm.
just I don't understand why there can't be more small screening for bigs. Like if you're having Pirtle screen all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't a bad idea. I mean, there was no goddamn Pirtle pick and roll with Fred during the first half, and I was just screaming, "Why not?" I don't understand why. I
Sure.
just and it started working in the second half. Anyways, thanks for letting me rattle off those points. This has been a good therapy session. I'll let you get to the next caller, but yeah,
Therapy is $85 an hour. I expect.
let me PayPal you. I'll have to give a donation. I've been thinking about donating. I just couldn't get my
I'm kidding.
I
Obviously,
know,
it's
I
the
know.
therapy is free. Anyways, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming in, man.
No
Appreciate
problem,
it.
man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, next up we got the goat, Larry. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. I'm about as
Yeah,
good as I can be.
yeah. I haven't seen you in a while, so just thought I'd log on and let
Thanks for
everyone
chiming
know that
in.
I'm still around and I've been watching and following, but um, I don't know, man. I'm losing a little bit of momentum with the since the deadline, and tonight
I felt that.
really, yeah, and tonight really didn't do much to get any of it back. I haven't been that excited with the little surge that they've made since the deadline because I look at the schedule and that they didn't pass the test in Cleveland, um, and then I didn't get too excited about the Chicago game the other night. I like Scotty's fourth quarter, but tonight was dreadful.
Yep.
Pretty much. I mean, OG was a bright spot, but pretty much dreadful. And where do you start? Like blow bys on defense, open threes, um, terrible decisions, ball on offense, ball stopping with Fred and Pascal. Um, no shot making. Bench was terrible. Although, I mean, I don't know why he didn't go maybe test some other players off the bench. He played, the starters' minutes were 39, 40 minutes, which is
I mean, the only guy who didn't play off the bench was
ridiculous.
Malachi.
Yeah,
The other guys weren't there.
but they're not even there. So,
They're
I
not even
mean,
there.
right. So, I mean, I don't even know why that's the case. I guess they're at the 905, but
I'm
um,
happy for them, to be honest. I really have a soft spot for some of the younger guys on this
mm,
team. Partly because they're just they're so they're so enthusiastic. Like they cheer from the bench,
hmm
and I've watched a lot of these guys play in college, and I know that they know better. I know
right.
that when they go home, they probably have like spouses or girlfriends or friends that they talk to, and they're probably like, "Oh my God, this offense does not make sense,"
Yeah, 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 yeah.
because this is the truth. Like NBA players, open secret. Stat padding is an open secret, and I'm so glad that Kendrick Perkins made an ass of himself accusing Nikola Jokic of stat padding on ESPN for a week straight, and now he's doubled down on his ridiculous take, saying that Nash and Nowitzki and Jokic are winning MVPs because they're white. I'm so happy he's saying all of this because it is exposing just how NBA players think, and he just made it clear stat padding is a thing. We talk about it all the time, you know. Um, and I think that it's interesting to know that like these are all guys who know better. Like
Mm.
these are guys who play for the love of the game. I don't mean to be sentimental or romantic about it, but it's just I know that Joe Wieskamp can look on the court and say that's a stupid play,
Well,
and yet they're
I
still
mean,
enthusiastic and they're
I
cheering their teammates on.
yeah.
They're not sulking, and I like that about them.
I certainly hope they can because, if I can sit and watch it and say that's a stupid play, then I've often wondered how the hell can, you know, like how what why can't our coaches see it, But but that's a whole other thing. I just think I just leave this game, um, not so much demoralized in the with the players on the floor because they are what they are, and they are what they are as a team. Like you said, alluded to earlier, on their paper talent or their talent as individuals is much higher than the way they performed together this year.
Right.
Um, I'm just disillusioned with, you know, I mean, with the front office. I don't want to revisit old, um, you know, revisit old news, but like, um, what are they thinking? Because the title of your the stream
Playing
was
for what?
playing for what, and that's a famous Masai quote. But now we're totally invested into the plan. Like you said, we made an end game move at the trade deadline, and we're not playing any of our young developing players. I can stomach bad basketball and losing games if I'm watching young players develop. And I'm actually at the point now where that's what I want to see from this team is, like turn it over to the next generation. And I don't care if we don't make the playoffs for a year or two. I'd like to see us build towards a better future. And I don't see us doing that right now.
Yeah.
And this is just, I mean, is really discouraging. This loss, not only because we it's too late to tank really because we've lost we've lost an opportunity for a better percentage at a top pick by virtue of winning a few games, and I think we're going to be in the play-in, and for what? And I don't see us catching I don't see us catching Brooklyn, especially if we play like this in games that matter. And I also consider the Cleveland test that we failed the other day as part of that.
I mean, if we lose on Saturday to this Washington team, I mean, the upcoming schedule is
It's hard.
horrifying. I
Yes.
realize, like, I think we have a game coming up against the Lakers, and I think LeBron might be out, and the Lakers' record without LeBron isn't great. So we may catch a break there. The Clippers may rest Kawhi when we play. We may catch another break there. I mean, the
Yeah,
Raptors
we
have
got.
caught so many breaks this year.
Yeah.
So many breaks. I mean, they say, oh, well, the Raptors didn't, couldn't catch a break earlier with injuries because Otto goes out for the year and he would have helped. And, Precious is out and OG's out and Siakam's out, etc. But man, they've been
Mm-hmm.
gifted games back by teams that have just not brought their team over, rested guys,
Mm-hmm.
major guys. But if a team like I just look at a team like Washington tonight, and I'm like, in a one game series on their home court, your season on the line, who do you trust? I trust Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, I do. I watched this guy for almost 10 years now. I would trust him in that situation. High stakes, pedigree. I've seen a lot of big performances from him. Um, and again, like, even a guy like Kyle Kuzma or Kristaps Porzingis, these guys, like, I mean, on the Raptors, I trust Scotty and I trust OG to
Mm-hmm.
show up in those big games. It's kind of been a little bit weird to see Scotty in February and now, the first game of March just look a little bit lost on offense.
Well, I mean, I thought he looked lost a bit tonight too, and I think that um, I mean, the Pirtle acquisition hasn't really helped Scotty,
No, it hasn't.
and then Fred coming back doesn't help Scotty either, and
I
you
think it
know,
adds some shooting for him. It doesn't help him in the sense that he's playing his natural position and Pirtle is playing his natural place on the court.
mm-hmm.
And so it's like you have a guy, and now what is he left to do? He's left to sort
Right,
of wander the wing,
exactly.
self-create three-pointers out of isolation opportunities. Not really his game. Here's a fun fact for you and the chat. Um, this is a bit of a crazy stat. There are three players. Do you know this? Do you already know where I'm going with this? If you do, don't say it. You don't? There are
No.
three players with 250 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in the fourth quarter of this season. Can you name them?
Well, Scotty's one.
How'd you know?
Uh, I'm just guessing. I think I've heard this, but I can't remember who the other two were.
Take a wild guess. They're really
Uh,
good.
yeah, I'm going to guess Tatum
Nope.
and nope.
I'll give you a three-letter hint. MVP.
Okay, um, Jokic
Yep.
and Embiid. No,
No. Giannis.
Giannis, right?
Yeah, there are three
Yeah,
players,
right.
and I'm not going to name the YouTuber, but I try not to watch this guy's content. And he made a pretty much a video addressing exactly my last stream. Pretty much like if you know what he's addressing, you know it. And he's like, fourth quarter, Scotty, we're talking about fourth quarter. This, you guys are trashing Siakam, whatever, whatever. But he's the real deal. He's carrying. This guy's not doing anything for the whole first three quarters. And I'm just like, my God. I mean, does this guy, who claims he played basketball, does he know how much harder it is to muster up energy in minutes
Hmm.
32, 33, 34, 35 to put the team on your back? How much more tight defenses get in the fourth quarter when the game is on the line, especially close games? And Scotty hasn't done this in garbage time. He's done this usually when his team is down and desperately needs him. Clutch players. Jordan did not make his bank in the first quarter.
No,
You
no.
know, these guys, they do it in high leverage situations. That's when stars shine. Big games, big moments, big quarters. And yeah, I don't, I think it's sort of sad because a lot of guys are going to look at contract situations. They're going to say, okay, well, this guy averaged 18 points per game. Does it matter to the team signing them that 16.9 of those points came in the first three quarters? It should.
Hmm.
It sometimes doesn't, maybe, but it should. It doesn't matter for fantasy sports, I'll tell you that. It doesn't matter for, parlays and bets. It doesn't matter for that. And since so much of our brains and so much of our collective psychology as fans is rooted in those types of numbers, those raw box stats, we lazily, open up the newspaper, open up our web app at the end of the
Right.
night, and we say, this guy had 28 points. He was great. Well, does it matter that he had all 28 of
Yeah.
those points and in the first three quarters, and 24 of those 28 points came in the first half? Does that matter? It should matter. And
Hmm.
when it happens consistently, it really should matter. Last year, when I was doing Scotty comparables, when I would look at his advanced stats and I would look at particular performances, and I would group together like a 5 game stretch or whatever, I would have to go back like 12, 15, 18 years sometimes to find another player who had done something that he had done. Sometimes the comparables were insane, like Kevin Garnett, Shaquille O'Neal. But almost every single time I would look at that, I would find myself comparing Scotty to a Hall of Famer. But then I would look at the raw box score stats and I'd be like, huh, well, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. It's not really something.
But
But what he does in those big moments, it should count.
it
And if it
should.
doesn't count to you, you don't understand sports.
So here's the thing. Well, for starters, in my sport, the analogy would be, who cares who's winning the 500-meter mark in a 1,000-meter race? I mean, it just is. Races are won in my sport in the last quarter of the race, and basketball games are often won in the last quarter. There you go. But if I firmly believe that if that Scotty could do, I mean, there's been people, a collection of people in the media have been all over him because he doesn't produce in the first three quarters like he does in the fourth, and rather than be excited about what he can do in the fourth, they're all over him and on for not producing that way in the first three quarters. I'm telling you, he's on a team where he can't. Um, when he does that in the fourth quarter, he's literally putting the team on his back and taking over. And you will see Siakam, Fred, they defer to him because they know that that's the only way that things are going to get done. We've seen it
Mm-hmm.
multiple times this year. He can't do that on this team with those players in the lineup in the first three quarters. He defers to them, and I can't really blame him. It's the way the team's set up. It's the structure of the team. If he were in a different environment, and he could really be helped out, by having some shooters around him. But if he were in a different environment with where more was expected from him right from the opening jump,
Mm-hmm.
he would be more like that for the first three quarters. I don't know that he would necessarily be taking the game over. I think he would still do that in the fourth quarter, and wouldn't be like that right out of the gate. But we would see more consistency. We would see better box score numbers from him in the first three quarters, and then when you looked at the box score,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't look like 15 points. It would look like the players you're comparing him with. I firmly believe that. And it's just that this team hasn't been prepared to give him the keys to the car yet. And that's the truth.
I think it was most of those players we're comparing him to, whether it be, Rasheed Wallace with the Bullets when he came in, or Chris Webber, Shaquille O'Neal, whoever we talk about, like when people talk about a Luka Doncic or Jason Tatum, all of these guys were featured on day one. They were not third fiddle, fourth fiddle, fifth fiddle. They were not asked to do all the dirty work on defense, whatever.
Yeah.
And whether or not, the Raptors agree to this or not, I don't believe the Raptors have really featured him very much.
No.
And I think Brian would probably be the first to tell you, his trainer would be the first to tell you, that he's probably not exactly as refined right now offensively as Jason Tatum was, even as a rookie. And so he needs some time too. The ceiling, however, has not changed. For me, the Scottie ceiling does not change. What is, however, dawning on me more so than ever is what my space, or what my place and our place as content creators is in this world of sports. From a more meta perspective, a lot of people come to, they go listen to The Ringer, they go listen to a particular YouTuber or whatever, because they need to have something. They want to, one, they want to be informed, and two, they want to have takes. That's what we call it, takes. Kendrick Perkins has takes. JJ Redick has takes. I have takes. We all have takes. It is, however, sometimes the stupidest things that I hear Raptor fans say, I can always trace them back to this comment right here. This right here. Some of the dumbest things that I've heard from Delano Banton will be an all-star. This was a real thing that this person said once. To Fred VanVleet is, a real star, a real point guard. He's like the, this guy, Scotty Barnes, quit on his team. All of this shit that I then listen to just echo throughout the ether, I can trace it back to one particular dumbass. And it's so frustrating, because I hope that he knows better. I hope that he's not I just hope he's not this stupid. I hope that it is some concerted effort on his part to, aggressively bash a particular player, and that he knows better. But if, it's not even questionable when I watch Scotty in these fourth quarters, some of these quarters, like the Bucks game or whatever, that he is capable of so much more than he has done. However, it is also not lost on me that this is a fucking business, and he knows it. He knows this is a business. There is a pecking order. There are guys who are looking to get paid. He is not one of them. He is not one of those guys looking to get paid. All he's looking to do is win. That's all he wants to do. When I listen to Kendrick Perkins talk about Nikola Jokic as a stat patter, I nearly lost my coffee on my laptop, because it was so egregiously stupid. Because Nikola Jokic is one of the first players I think about when I think of unselfish basketball. I remember a game, I think, where he had 40 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists or something like that, or 8 assists. And I was like, he probably hasn't looked up once to see how many assists he has. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about that stuff. Giannis doesn't care about that stuff. Giannis could give a shit less how many games he plays, how many minutes he plays. He just wants to win. That's what I love about Giannis. That's what I love about Jokic. And that's what I love about Scotty. It's ironic that he is one of those three players in the fourth quarter.
Right.
There's a reason for that. These guys conserve energy for that fourth quarter, because that's when they can take over. They're not going to do it the whole game, because they're not stupid. I think that it's like there's definitely Olympic sports where there's relay, right?
Yeah.
Right? Olympic relay. Where would you put your strongest athlete?
I put him on the anchor.
End, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Because that is the person who has the most pressure on them. That is the person who needs to be the most mentally tough. And how many times this year, as a 21-year-old, this guy has taken over a fourth quarter, and people act like it's just nothing, because they look at the box score and they don't see what it took to get there, how he's playmaking for others, how much he's defending, rebounding, hustling, switching, doing whatever. I watched this guy live. It was exhausting. It was exhausting to see how much he moves. And one of the comments that you made once about OG, and every single time the
Yes.
camera zooms in on him,
Hmm.
like he is just dripping with sweat. These two guys, these two players, OG and
Yeah.
Scotty, I really hope that the Raptors management understand the gems that they have with these two human beings, these two players. I hope
Hmm.
they do not part them. I hope they do not trade them. I hope they do not take them for granted, though, because this is the player empowerment era, and we're already seeing OG get sour. Don't let Scotty get sour too.
No,
That's
no.
one thing that I will tell, because these guys, they have agents, they have trainers, they have people in their lives, and I guarantee you every single person in their lives is telling them that they could average more somewhere else and win more too.
Yeah.
And that is a really that's a really bad proposition. There was a report that came out about Trae Young very recently, about how he refuses to lead, about how his teammates have soured on him, and how people are not happy playing with him, how he does not take the responsibility that a leader should, and leaving, being the team's best player and the self-appointed or appointed captain or leader, and then refusing to lead is is basically a statement, in my book, that you shouldn't be a leader, that you should not be
Agreed.
put in that
Agreed.
position. You can be a really good player. You can be a leading scorer without being a leader. But then if you're not going to be that leader, we can't pay you to be a leader. We have to
Mhm.
bank accordingly. We need to bring in veterans to lead the locker room, because you're not going to do it. Vince Carter, leadership was not his jam when he was here. Great player, great player. One of my favorite players all time. Wasn't quite the leader the team needed at that time.
Mhm.
That toughness, the locker room was being held together by guys like Mark Jackson, by guys like, Antonio Davis, Charles Oakley. Well, maybe this team needed a couple of those guys. Thaddeus Young was supposed to be that. Otto Porter, they brought in some veteran presence. But from so far what I've seen this year, leaders lead when times get tough.
I
Those are the
agree.
guys who shore it up. They
I
give you the possession that you need. They calm things down. And I've seen spurts of it from Fred in the past. I have. I'm not going to lie about that. I have. I've seen a lot of it from OG in big high leverage moments. I've seen a lot of it from Scotty this year, a
right.
ton. This was not a case for him last year. It wasn't like fourth quarter Scotty was just a thing last year. It wasn't really a
Mhm.
thing. This is
No.
something that he's dialed up this year, and I'm excited to see what playoff Scotty will look like this year, because I assure you, game on the line, do or die, go home, season's over. This guy is not going to let you down, and that
That I
level
mean,
of sureness is
yeah.
important.
I mean, then we saw that in the opening game of the playoffs last year, before he Embiid landed on him. Is that
Yeah,
he played like that right from the beginning, and
yeah,
because it was like the whole game was the fourth quarter,
yeah.
and he did take it to another level. I just think that on this team, I watched them play, and they're deferring to guys that are the leaders, the best players,
Yep.
but there's a they're not leaders,
Hmm.
um, and so it's just I just look at it and I just think it's a really uncomfortable situation for Scotty, because he is that guy, that leader guy, but there, as you say, there's a pecking order, and he's like his offensive game maybe isn't as refined as true as Jason Tatum's was at that point in at the same point in their careers. But how's it going to get more refined when opportunity is lost to these players who are the leaders but don't lead? It's just it's a bit dysfunctional to me, the whole lineup. Not necessarily in terms of, well, yes, necessarily in terms of talent, because there's not enough shooters, but um, but also in terms of personalities. And
4 minutes of Will Barton not doing it for you
yeah,
every
no,
night. 4 minutes of Will
4 minutes,
Barton,
right,
Joe
right,
Wieskamp getting the quick hook.
yeah,
Honestly, I
yeah,
mean, shooting is such a weird thing, because you can take all the shooters you want. You could bring Peja Stojakovic in his prime, and then give him no space, no movement,
right,
no shot attempts, and say, "Wow, it seems like Peja can't shoot anymore." You can have a sniper on your team like Yuta Watanabe, and then
Hmm.
go watch him thrive as a 47, 48%
Yeah.
three-point shooter
Right.
on the Brooklyn Nets because your offense could not generate those looks for him. This happens over and over for the Raptors. Would not surprise me. Honestly, I watch other teams a lot,
Hmm.
partly to just get the sting of watching this team out of my eyes
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
And I tell you, there are so many offenses where I'm watching a guy like Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in OKC, or I'm watching, Aaron Gordon take feeds from Nikola Jokic, and I'm like, man, this is so easy. There's a part of me that's a Raptor fan. That's a very big part of me. There's also a part of me that's a fan of individual players on this team, like OG Anunoby,
Hmm.
Scotty Barnes, Jeff Doughton, Joe Wieskamp. I like a lot of players on this team. I like Thad Young. I like Otto Porter. There's a lot of players I like on this team. And for their sake, going forward, either this year, hopefully this year, but at worst next year, I want to see a more off. I want to see a better offense for them because I
So
feel
do I.
bad for these players.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to use these players, if they are going to, basically run the worst offense in NBA history, and it's getting close, man. I've
Yes,
watched
I
some
agree.
ugly basketball with the Raptors in the past. We've talked about Allen Anderson days and Lauren Woods days. There's some very ugly basketball in this team's history. I know you were not watching basketball back in 2001, 2000 sorry, not 2001. 2001 was the golden age.
Yeah.
2004, 2005, Rafael Arujo, watching Rafael
I
Arujo
remember.
brick.
Yeah, I remember Rougeau. Yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Dude, I was in. I went to all the playoff games in 2001. I,
What the
I,
hell? I
I've
didn't know
been
you've been watching basketball that long. Really?
a long time. Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
okay, this is
Yeah. No.
news.
No. No, man. I didn't. I'm not like a late comer. I'm not a 2019 guy. I've been watching forever.
I'm sorry. I did not know that. Wow, that's amazing. We're gonna
Well,
have to
I
talk
never
about that
logged on and
sometime.
talked to you about it, but
There was
that's
nothing to log on. We
yeah.
didn't
Right.
exist.
Right. 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 No, I've been
That's
around for a long
amazing.
time. Yeah. No, it's
So
just
you've really seen it all, eh?
I've
Um,
experienced about
is this the
and
most? If you had to rank out, like now, I'm curious. If you had to rate out the most disappointing team in Raptor history relative to where you thought they would be pre, and where you feel they ended up, where would you like? What would be the most disappointing team in Raptors history for you?
uh, I mean, I have to sit and think about it because the years blur together a bit. But this is right up near the top of that list. Honestly, with what they did last year in
Yeah.
the and the hope that created in this team, and
Hmm.
then bringing Otto Porter in. I mean, there's been some bad luck with Ottawa in particular,
Yeah.
but I had pretty high hopes for this team. I was thinking, a top four seed, maybe. I know the East is stronger, but I thought
Me too.
I was banking on some development, helping to improve the team too. And but everything that worked last year and everything that um, the chemistry on the team last year is not, even though the players are the same, the chemistry is not the same this year. And um, it's and I don't I mean I can't explain why they're dreadful this year, but this year for my expectations has been um, as and I think I'm more invested in it now than I used to be. I mean I've always watched and always um, I try to catch as many games a season as I can right from
Hmm.
year one, but um, I'm more invested in it now than I used to be because I watch YouTube. I log on um, to your streams. I read your community posts. I read other stuff. I'm much more. I have more time to be more invested in it now as well. And
Right.
so this has been in terms of expectations for me the most disappointing season. And I'll also just take it one step further. Is I think it's disappointing because I'm looking at at a guy like Scotty, and maybe I'm guilty of trying to rush him, but I just like to see him have more opportunity. It frustrates me when I see him lost on the floor, as you talked about tonight, running around on the wings, sort of wondering where he's going to get his looks or his shots. Um, um, he's better than that, and if we're going to make him the player he can become, I think we need to give him more opportunity.
Hmm. Um, I agree. I think it's partly on him. Part of it is on him. He needs to be better.
Hmm.
There's a couple of shots tonight where he faked a three, and I'm like, he needs to take that three. That is a
Yes.
three he needs to
Yeah.
take.
He's been making them
There's
lately too.
He has been. He's shot 33%
Yeah.
from three in February, and I think that's reasonable. Touch around the rim needs to get better. I'm sure he mentioned in one of his interviews that he was feeling a little bit better physically before. Now maybe he's not feeling as good, but I think that he needs to be better. But I think it's also on his team to put him in situations to be
Yes.
successful. A little bit difficult to do that with the spacing that's currently on the team right now. I just want to say quickly, thanks, Larry, for coming on. Any
Yeah.
parting thoughts there?
No. I've been on way too long. I'm taking up time from other people, and I want to hear them too. So,
Yeah. All right.
okay, man. Yeah. Glad to be
Cheers. Have
back.
a good
Yeah.
one.
Cheers. Okay. Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right. Quick thank you here to Nathaniel. Big ups to Dr. Rob for the Raps therapy session. I no longer wish to beat my TV to death and blow it out of a can. Okay, that's funny. Um, Scott Barnes, in the house. I don't know what that was in reference to, but feel free to clarify on that one. Um, we got one, two, three, four callers up. First up, we got Ishan. Ishan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Rob.
Okay. I wish, you know what? I wish we had like a video department that could be like earlier in the week.
No,
Ishan says, okay, don't worry. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff in my life, but do you want to tell people what your initial projection was and how you
I
feel about it now?
I went on call with Rob and I said the Raptors were gonna win the next three games, Chicago and both in Washington, and I was wrong. Um, Obviously, with the season, there's highs and lows.
Yep.
Um, Try to stay even keel, just like players, I guess. I think the biggest takeaway, you were talking about this early on, was Pascal Siakam, our best player, our all-star,
Mm-hmm.
got outplayed by Kyle Kuzma. Um, when I was on the show last time as well, we were talking about play-in scenarios. We were talking about Jimmy Butler. We were talking about Pascal Siakam. Today did not give me like that hope, I guess you can say, that
Yep.
Pascal Siakam would show up in a do or die game. And it's safe to say the game on Saturday, Rob, it's a game seven. Uh, it's a game seven. I think like we're
Bro, you're not
understating
talking
how
about you talking about game seven. Game seven
it's
of what? Game
it's a
seven
game
of the
seven. If we're being real, looking at the schedule, if
of
we
the Turkish league. Like, what are we talking? This is
game
like,
seven of the play-in, game seven of the play-in aspirations. Uh,
bro.
if
You know what would be so sad if the Raptors and Wizards end up like tied at the end of the season and they lose the tiebreaker. Like they lose out on 10th. They have to be 11th, and they lost the tiebreaker. Yo, these games are. You're right. They're must wins, and I
I
would be very yeah. I mean, look, I got to tell you, though, the only issue that I had with your projection was that I found it very hard to believe the Raptors. Number one, if I had to bet, I think the odds of them winning three straight probably would have been, in my opinion, closer to like 35 to 40%. That's how my odds would go.
that's fair.
Because, again, the math thing that we talked about of joint probability, things
Right.
happening three in a row, like flipping heads three in a row, it's hard. And I
It
don't
is.
think that they're decidedly better than the Bulls or the Wizards. I think the Wizards are probably more talented team, and probably you saw that tonight. So
I
yeah, I
expect
mean,
Scotty
hot.
Barnes to bounce back. I expect Scotty to bounce back, like you were saying with the previous caller as well.
Yeah, I
The
mean, look, this
playoffs.
this there's one chat guy here, this commenter who's just echoing some points, and I put his comments on the screen partly because I just want people to know how stupid he is, but it just it's so crazy to me that people think some of the things that they think about this. But seriously, like this is his dad right here saying he owned Tatum last year. This is no cap. There's no cap. He did. He had really good matchups against him. He I last year I called Scotty the All Star killer because
25 and
every
10 in his second career game.
was it
25
25 and 10 or
yeah, at
was
the
I think
TD Garden,
it was
second
I
career
think it
game.
was 25. I think it was
Nope,
25
it
and
was
12.
25. No, no, was it
25 and
25 and
12.
12?
I think it was either 25 and 12 or 23 and 12. Anyways, point is, I remember that game very clearly. It was a
Yep,
one-on-one against Tatum. I remember his first game against LeBron.
the
Do you remember?
block. Yep.
Jeez, right? First game against LeBron, first game against Luca, first game against Domas. Like every time he saw an All-Star, he saw red. He wants to test himself against the best and brightest.
And Durant.
First playoff game, and again, just quoting his dad here, he said if he doesn't get hurt against Philly last year, they could have took Boston or the Heat. I don't know about took Boston or the Heat, as in like beat them, but you know what? I can only go by what I saw. And what I saw was in his first game through 3 quarters, Scotty Barnes was pretty much on track to have a triple double. And it
15,
wasn't
10,
one of those
10.
meaningless stat padding triple doubles. It was like he was making a serious impact, triple doubles, getting wherever he wanted on the court, triple doubles. And he showed me no jitters. As a 20-year-old lacing up his first, how easy would it have been for him to put up 4 points or something, right? No, he showed up for the big moments. This is a person, some guys are built for the bright lights. Some guys aren't. I think he is. So in a play-in situation, the only person on this team, the only two people on this team that really inspire confidence in me are Scotty and OG. Everyone else is a question mark. If you tell me Siakam gets 10 points in a play-in do or die and the Raptors lose, I would not be surprised. You tell me Scotty Barnes got 10 points in a do or die play-in situation, I'd be like, who shot him?
I think this is probably this will be a off-season question for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are Scotty Barnes should be a point guard. I don't disagree with that necessarily. I believe he should be used in a LeBron role. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he should be listed at point guard, but he should be like the unofficial point guard regardless.
Sure.
But I think where he succeeds or excels the most, I think, is passing out the post. I believe that fit between Siakam and Scotty Barnes. I know this was a question all of the season last year. I feel like off season as well.
Yep.
I think as good as Pascal Siakam is, we will have to entertain the trade for him. If you're telling me to pick between Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes, it's a no-brainer. Scotty Barnes is our future, right?
I think he could be your present too, but yes, I agree with you.
Present, future. So however that were to work, it would be with Pascal Siakam going. And the truth is, Rob, everyone should know this. In any Pascal Siakam trade, 10 out of 10 times, the return that you will get, you will
Is
not
less.
get a
Is
better
less.
individual player necessarily,
Mhm.
but you could get better pieces that fit Scotty, like shooting, for example,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
So I think
I mean,
Scotty
right
Barnes,
now, if you could swap Siakam for Porzingis and Avdia, you'd probably be a better team. That sounds crazy to
100%.
someone. That sounds crazy to somebody, but I'll tell you right now that the shooting of Porzingis, the
100%.
space that he would create, would be so great because that's where he camps. Like he can either be in the post, which is a super efficient shot, or he can be in threes and he can be hitting threes. And if he's taking, threes and hitting them at 33, 34% rate, that's a more efficient shot than Siakam shooting 47%, 48% from two. So, or 50% from two. So yeah, I just think, the brand of basketball that, like Alvin Williams is commenting on Kyle Kuzma taking a three on the fast break and saying, wow, the game is evolving.
The
Hell
end.
yes, the game is evolving. It's not, but this is not last year or the year before. It's been happening for a while, and the analytic trends show that there's an upside, a limited upside when your star, your so-called star, is not very efficient and does not take very efficient shots and does not generate a lot of easy shots. Yeah. Anyway, man, thanks a lot for calling in. I really appreciate it. And thanks for owning up to your gaffe. It was hilarious. I don't know. You had so much conviction about this three
did.
thing that I was like, man, if this guy ends up being right about these 3 games, maybe I ought to take some advice from him. But unfortunately, you lose some credibility on that
Hopefully we
one.
bounce back, though. Hopefully we bounce back. But
Oh, man.
thanks for having me, Rob.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
coming on. Thanks. All right. Okay, we are at 1 hour and 7 minutes. We've got 5 callers. That will be it for us. There'll be 5 more callers. Try to make these calls a little bit quicker. We've talked about a lot of stuff. I apologize for going super late with Larry, but Larry had not been Larry's one of our regulars, and he had not been on in like what feels like 5 years, but it has probably more realistically been like close to 2 weeks. So it's really good catching up with Larry. Um, let's go. Let's go in quick order, and we're going to end. Coach Mo, hang tight. You are further up in the queue, but I have a feeling your call will go a little bit late because of the game that just happened. So we're going to try to keep the next four calls to 5 minutes apiece. Your goat, you're up. What up?
Yo, Rob, how you doing, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy that I went 3-0 against you, man. I played very good against you.
Okay.
Bro, oh my
Yeah.
God, dude. I have it here. I analyzed the games and I've gotten better, but bro, you beat me in 13 moves. 13 moves. Like
Yeah.
that was very and then you told me don't put your queen out so fast. It's almost always a mistake. And the next game where I had the opening, I instantly put my queen out, and then you beat me in 13 moves.
Oh man, that was too
Yeah.
bad. Well, look, I just my elo for rapid just went to 1200 today,
Uh-huh.
so that was very exciting. I think I'm gonna make it a personal mission of mine to get to 2000. At some point in my life, I want to be a 2000 rated player. I'm getting a little bit better too, but yeah, I'm glad you're picking it up. What did you think of the game tonight? Did you watch the game?
Unfortunately, I couldn't watch the game. It was a soccer game here, but so far, I mean, I think it's kind of a bad loss in my opinion, especially in the direction where I feel like the Raptors are gonna be in, which is they're gonna be in a play-in position, and you guys might face the Washington Wizards for in the play-in, and for me, it's sort of 50-50. But looking at this game, I mean, I didn't watch it. So how do you feel the Raptors and the Washington Wizards game going for the play-in?
Do or die?
Mm-hmm.
I feel 50-50, man.
Me
It could go
too.
either way. I really do. I
Mm-hmm.
would love to tell you that I think Porzingis would just score like 35 points or Beal would just go off for 50 or some crazy shit like that. I have no idea. I'm not rating these guys. No one on this team like is Jason Tatum or Luka
Yeah.
Doncic. They don't have that level of player, but neither do you as the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think if it's at home, whoever's at home will probably win.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
so you need to stay ahead of them. You cannot be 10th and face this team ninth because not only do you have then the pressure of having to beat a team in a do or die situation on the
Mm-hmm.
road, then you have to go again and beat another team on the road. Although, one thing that I had not thought about, kind of sneaky,
Mm-hmm.
that being in the play-in, what a crazy revenue opportunity for MLSE.
Mm-hmm.
Like a one game do or die season on the line in terms of intrigue, drama. I mean, if people had not tuned out of this team already, which a lot of people have, I can tell you for a fact that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people have already tuned this team out. But man, can you imagine how much money you would have to pay to watch that one game on your home court? And if they're 10th, you get no home court
Mm-hmm.
playing games. The
Yep.
only way you get a play in home court game is if you are seventh,
Seventh,
seventh and ninth,
ninth.
and then ultimately if you are eighth and you lose your road game, then you would get, I guess, a home game against the
Mm-hmm.
second team. So in either case, you can get one game at home or zero games at home
Yeah.
in a play-in situation.
Yeah. So
Unless, of course, you were the seventh team and you
uh-huh.
lost, in which case I think you get two home court.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine the Raptors finish seventh and they lose to the eighth team, which would be Atlanta possibly, and then they get another home court. Wow, that's good money for MLSE, right? You get,
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like how much? I think I think the play-in game would probably cost as much, if not more, than a playoff game. And then beyond that, you would also, if you made the playoffs, then you would also get playoff revenue of at least two games,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
A lot of
four
money.
games for MLSE, that's crazy money.
A lot
That's
of money.
that's a lot
Something
of
that
money.
the Pistons won't have in the next 3 years. But speaking of the Pistons, do you still think that the Pistons basketball is more entertaining than the Raptors after our new addition?
No, I
No.
cannot watch James Wiseman.
Dude, that Raptors game, I couldn't be on the call after it, but I was fuming. I literally, not to make this about the Pistons, but Killian Hayes is the worst basketball player I've ever seen. He's like me playing chess. That's
I
the
was
level
just gonna
this guy
say,
is.
Killian Hayes is the your goat. of chess.
Yeah.
Or no, he is to basketball what you are to chess ultimately, which is a newbie and a developing prospect. And I wish you good luck on
I
your
think
chess
I can
journey.
develop. I don't think Killian Hayes is going to develop anything in the meantime. So that's my
So
mindset.
so the odds of you becoming a competent chess player are higher than Killian Hayes becoming a competent basketball player. I agree with that.
Way
I
higher.
played you.
I
I
just paid
played you, and I agree with that.
$15. I just paid $15 for lessons on chess.com.
Hey, nice, good for you, man.
I actually want to learn this because I would prefer playing a chess game than watching us right now. It's getting bad.
Oh man.
It's
Well,
really getting
chess
bad.
chess is exploding. Chess.com has had explosive growth since the Queen's Gambit
Yeah,
came
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and obviously since the chess controversy of Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann. So
Well,
yeah,
what do you
good,
think
good.
of that, by the way? Do you think that Hans Niemann cheated?
Yes, I do. Anyways, thank
How
you.
could he? Like, not to make
How
this,
could he cheat?
but it's like because it was in person, right? And I heard that like I saw a video where he like Stockfish is the app where you used to cheat, probably, right? That's the engine. But
Yeah,
I don't know how he did if it was in person. Like, I'm not too sure.
we'll talk about it next time. Well, like maybe we'll just create a chess show. I was thinking about Pensare chess. We already have Pensare films, we have Pensare
Uh-huh.
basketball. I'm like, man, chess is half my life. Why don't I just create Pensare chess? So maybe that's coming at some point, and then we'll
Yeah,
have
I would be happy to
call-in
be on.
shows where we can play players live, and you can be one of those players. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I'm gonna totally dominate that tournament. I'm gonna be the best player in there.
Nice. Okay, let's
All
talk to
right,
you later,
thank you
man.
so much for having
Cheers.
me on.
Cheers, man. See ya.
Cheers.
Bye. All right, all right, all right. Next up, we got Chris. Chris, what's up?
Hey Rob, how you doing tonight?
I'm good.
All right. I was just really disappointed about the effort, to tell you the truth. That was the most disappointing thing about it, especially on the defensive end. I was expecting a way better effort on that side. I've already given up on the offense. Like that's not what this team's gonna do. So I'm just hoping that they're just gonna, I don't know, play really good defense. And they've done that since they've gotten Pirtle, but I know that's mostly the schedule as well too. But like I just want to see, do you have any thoughts on that point? Anything I don't know? Agree, disagree?
I think there was a caller earlier who pointed out specific things that the Raptors were doing, which is like that they were over pressuring on DeLon Wright, who's not a really great shooter. Why are they hugging him at the line? Why are they giving blow-bys? Why is Fred VanVleet guarding Kristaps Porzingis? The defense is a bit of a mess. I think defense comes down to communication. I don't think communication's been great. And to the specific point of, the Raptors defense looking so dominant with Jakob Poeltl, I think, again, like who you play matters. I think good teams can expose this. They've been exposing it all year. I don't think Jakob Poeltl necessarily changes everything, but I also don't think he's a part of the problem necessarily on defense. I think he's done great. He's switched well. He's he's where he needs to be on defense. It's a lot of the other guys, man. And it's hard to point to a specific person because you're like, who the hell is the negative defender on this team? Scotty's a positive defender. OG's an overwhelmingly positive defender. Fred's a slightly positive defender. Like, where is the bad defender on this team, right? That's just getting blow-bys, Like, if it was the Cleveland Cavaliers, you'd be like, okay, it's got to be a Donovan Mitchell problem, right? Or if it's, the Atlanta Hawks, you're like, okay, well, it's because Trae Young is a freaking pylon. But with the Raptors, it's really difficult to find a single player on this team who is a defensive liability one-on-one, and yet the whole thing doesn't work. It's
So
scheme
like
related.
it sounds, yeah, I was about to say, so it sounds like it's a scheme problem then. Like the whole pressuring the guards, that's the scheme thing that we've been doing forever. Like I think that's what they do to try to generate more turnovers and
That's exactly it. It's the
yeah.
offense defense connection that I think people often don't account for properly. So, like in an isolated situation, right? Like let's say just complete hypothetical clean board simulation lab test, right? Situation. I'm asking a defense to stop an offense, a particular offense with two bigs, two wings, and a guard, or one big, four guards, whatever the matchup is, four shooters, one non-shooter, five shooters, space out, whatever. And I asked that team to stop that play. Well, it kind of matters the play before that play, right? Because in a situation where you're looking at it from a lab perspective, you're like, yeah, on defense, this team should be able to stop this team. Not completely factoring in how often the Raptors are off balance on defense, where the other team is just running it down their throat because they take a really bad shot out of rhythm. I think it's their offense that is so often responsible for their leaky defense, because when they make shots, the next possession up, usually if they have a chance to set up their defense, it's usually not bad.
That's true. A lot of the issues I found, especially in the first half or all game, it was the transition defense, really. And then that's to your point of taking a bad shot, and then everybody's like
Well, how often, like if you had to play a drinking game for every single time a player like fell out of bounds on our team and just didn't get back, or fell on the ground and didn't get back, it took too long to get back, and the other team had an advantage. It's like a freaking hockey power play every single time. I noticed, I do notice other teams do this once in a while, maybe. Like Denny Avdia twice tonight went out of the play and then was late to get back into it, which is weird because he's a really good defender. But he's a terrible offensive player. He's a terrible offensive player. And very often with terrible offensive players, they often end up falling out of balance just to get a shot off. And too often, like that's what happened with him. He either fell to the ground and he was late to get back. That's putting a lot of pressure on your teammates to have to stop 5-on-4. And yeah, for the Raptors, it's like even in transition, like one of the biggest advantages of, 6'9", Vision 6'9", is transition defense is seamless. Because there's no matchups to miss to hunt, right? But now, pardon?
It's different now because now we have a 7-footer out there.
Number one, you have a 7-footer and you don't want him on the guard, and you have a 5'11" guy that you don't want on the center. So there's now 3 guys who can sort of switch on everyone, and you've got Pascal Siakam, who's just uncomfortably bad sometimes as a perimeter defender.
No sense. Like he got blown by, but I don't even know his name. I don't want to butcher it.
Denny Avdia?
There you go. When he got blown by him, I lost my shit. I was like, are you serious? Like that possession, and I think it was a pretty big possession too. We're making a little run, and then it gets blown by, and then I think he dumped it off to what's his name? The center they have there.
Yep. Daniel Gafford.
Exactly, and he had a great game because he was kept on getting those dump off passes because our perimeter just kept on getting blown by. But yeah, that possession right there, I lost my shit on Siakam on that one. Like, it's like I don't get it. It makes no sense at all. Like,
I mean, yes, his more ardent supporters would tell you it's because he's carrying too heavy a load on offense. He doesn't have energy on defense, etc. But I just, yeah,
that possession right there is terrible. And I guess the last topic I want to bring up, I'm like, obviously it seems like you're so against this whole like the whole play-in and possibly playoff, but then like you mentioned that Scotty Barnes like is amazing in those situations. Like, don't you want to see Scotty Barnes in those situations though?
I do, but I also know that these play-ins could be the last game for Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam to audition for their big max contract extension. And I don't think that either one of those guys, or I mean, Gary, look how many free agents you have.
Yeah.
Look how many guys need to get paid. You think these guys are going to go into a game where there's a do or die, all cards on the table and say, here, 21-year-old, we fully are self-aware now and we accept that you are the only person among us who's built for these moments? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a complete clusterfuck of a situation. I think it's probably going to be another, very effective Scotty Barnes game where he plays well, but I don't think it's going to be a game where he's just featured and gets to take 25 shots and, get to make 18 of them or something like that. And I think, he could also fail in a situation like that too, because I think the skills work it's got a long way to go. He's got so much growing to do as a basketball player.
I'm curious to know what's
mentally he's there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's not fazed by anything, and that's
he's not scared, and that's that like when I look at young players, like when I look at AAU prospects. When I see them and they're going up against a national powerhouse or whatever, I see like how do they play? It's not even how do they score, how much did they score, did their team win? No, how do they play? Do they play timid or do they play aggressive? Do they play scared? Are they guarding hard? Do they look a little bit like flustered by the moment? Is the moment too bright for them? Because if the moment's too bright for them, this is psychological, and I don't think it necessarily goes away. Kobe was a killer when he was 17. He was a killer when he was 37. Michael Jordan was a killer in North Carolina. He was a killer with the Washington Wizards. It doesn't go away. It's how these people are built mentally. Scotty Barnes
It's different because like Scotty
is
Barnes has been expecting this since the time he was like I don't know, like 10 years old. He knew this is exactly where he was going to be. He can't like Pascal can't say the same thing.
I don't know about 10. I think he was about man, I want to say grade 5, grade 6, where it starts to become real, and then it went on from there. But yeah, I mean
Yeah, from a young age, like he
for
knew
sure,
his
grade
position.
7, grade 8, national spotlight. Look, it's he was built for these moments. He 100% was. There are certain guys like that in the NBA. You know, we call them superstars. For the most part, we call them superstars. In very rare cases, there are role players who have, you know, that type of quality too, like a Robert Ory, Big Shot Bob, you know, but they're just certain guys who are built for those big moments. And I think he's one of them. You know, I think it comes down to mental toughness. It comes down to the ability to focus, cut out noise, right? And I think that it is an essential superstar quality.
Okay.
I can't think of a single superstar who's just like routinely choked in big moments. We've all seen superstars have a tough series. Like LeBron had a tough series against Dallas Mavericks. You know, Dirk had a tough series against Miami. You know, Michael has had a tough playoff series before. I mean, every Kobe, you know, in his first, you know, playoff experience was airballing 3-pointers, and half of LA wanted him gone because, you know, they were, you know, pissed off that they traded Vlade for him, and now we're going to trade Eddie Jones for him. I think a lot of young players, you know, a lot of guys, they do have hiccups, but they're built for those moments. You can tell. Even when Kobe was missing those air balls, you're like, one more year in the gym, he's going to make them. You know, you could just tell. There was nothing about that performance that dissuaded me from thinking Kobe was going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing, obviously, thoughts on Saturday's game. I know that it's funny enough, the earlier caller mentioned it's a game 7, but like it's actually a very important game. I do think though, like we're getting lucky because like Brooklyn, I think they're just gonna keep on, like they're just gonna keep plummeting because like I think they play Boston tomorrow, so that's another loss for them. And then like Cleveland and New York play tomorrow as well too. I know New York and I think New York plays Miami tomorrow, so they might help us out there too. So, what's your thoughts on Saturday's game? Do you think they bounce back?
I think they could lose again.
Yeah, I think they could too. The fact that it's in Washington as well is tough.
Yep.
All
right, man.
All
It's you know, some teams are just a bad matchup.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have anyone who can stop Porzingis. And you know, they do have someone who can stop Kuzma, and I hope that they'll make adjustments. They'll have today to look at the game film, tomorrow look over the game film, see what the Wizards did. But I think what makes me most
I like they're
bearish
able to slow down
is
Beal.
Bradley Beal didn't even show up tonight.
Yeah,
It wasn't just the Raptors defense on him, man. He wasn't there. And that might sound very Stephen A. Smith, you know, hot takey of me to say, oh, he didn't show up, he wasn't there. Really, I've seen great Bradley Beal games. This wasn't one of them. Didn't look like him out there. He could do so much more. And he's a shifty, quick, you know, dynamic guard who can get really hot from 3. If they overhelp on Kuzma or they start to over adjust down into Porzingis and they start letting him get going,
yeah, that's gonna be a problem.
like he could put up 60 with his eyes closed. Like he's a really gifted scorer. Really gifted scorer. I know he's not a perfect player. I know he's not a superstar or whatever, but there are those guys. Like I count him on probably 2 hands that can put up 60. He's one of them. So I wouldn't want to see that. That would be a very demoralizing hit. I wonder if Nick Nurse would even make it past. You know, I don't know if Nick Nurse would make it to the bus if the Raptors lose 2 in a row to the Wizards. That would be devastating. But yeah.
I think I'm glad OG was able to a couple good games now for OG, so that's looking good. I think Scotty's definitely gonna. I think Scotty's definitely gonna have a bounce back game on Saturday, and
yeah, me too.
I
think it'll be good. All right,
man.
Cheers, man.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, now we have Mario. Mario, what up, man?
Yeah, well, I just watched the game. I watched it on the Washington broadcast, so I got to hear their, objective take on who we are. Lots of interesting comments today.
Anything stick out?
What's that? Yeah. The one guy said he made in his game notes he wrote down in his game notes, between Kuzma and Siakam, whoever stays out of foul trouble will win that matchup, and claims right at the end of the game. I love the comment that Chris Boucher is the poster boy for jankiness. A curtain of defenders. That was another beautiful line one guy spun. And they agreed with one of your points that you just made. They don't see us as good at transition D, but they're extremely afraid of us in half court D. And they perceive our defense as, prime top-notch defense, and everybody feels like we don't know what's wrong with the Raptors. They're a much better team than the way they're playing. So those are a few of the things that the Washington guys had to say today. I was impressed with Kuzma and Porzingis. They've developed since I watched them last.
Right.
And those guys don't seem to think that the color guys, they don't seem to think that this is an extreme game for those two. Like, I haven't been paying attention to either of them, but Porzingis seems to be a rim protector like I haven't seen him ever before.
He's been great. His percentages at the rim are incredible. This is going right back to last year, ever since he's gotten to Washington. When I was very seriously looking last year, I went on a show and I was debating who is Siakam better than or worse than. I had him pretty much neck and neck with Sabonis and Porzingis. That's kind of where I see Siakam, and that's where I've continued to see him. Maybe he's above those guys now, but not by much. And yeah, I think one of the biggest points was Porzingis just does so much in terms of paint defense. Guys just shoot way worse with him in there. I mean, he's 7'3". He's got a massive wingspan. He's active. But it's nice to see him healthy, man. So it's a hell of a talent.
I really liked our defense in the first quarter, and every time there was an open shot, it was Pascal late on the, and the Washington guys didn't understand what adjustment we made that shut down Kuzma after his start, and it was we took Pascal off him. So I mean, he seems half asleep to me frequently. He always the open
Siakam?
Yeah. The open threes, he's always just a little bit late getting there.
Analytics would tell you he's one of the best at contesting corner threes in the NBA, but I believe that when I've watched games closely and really rewound things and really just slowed things down and watched them, I see very often that he is the catalyst for a breakdown on the defensive end. A lot. I can see Scotty not being the greatest defender. I understand sometimes he gets beat point of attack. He got beat a couple times by Kyle Kuzma tonight. It didn't look great. But I don't see Scotty get lost on defense too often. I don't see him fail to rotate too often. I see him late, or I see him too slow. A step behind, yes. But I'm not seeing him failing to communicate or failing to rotate. And, to those people who early in the season were criticizing him for his effort, I think the effort is there. I just think there's a cap to how well someone who's 6'8", 240 pounds can guard a quick, twitchy point guard. And I think he's taking those matchups on partially because he wants to, but partially also because Fred VanVleet can't do it anymore. And if Fred VanVleet's going to be on the court as a 5'11", 6-foot guard, and he can't guard other 6-foot guards because they're too quick and they're just blowing past him, that's a really big matzo ball for the Raptors, and they should address it.
I've been impressed with Doughton. I've never seen him play before, and I think there are guards that he could cover that Fred can't.
I love him. I'm the president of the Free Jeff Doughton train, and I absolutely love him, and he played for the 905 tonight, and again, had courtside seats. Thank you, Adam, and I'm really happy that someone got to enjoy them. But yeah, I would have loved to see that game.
Another thing from the Washington broadcast, they're happy with Beal. Their expectation when they play us is that we are going to shut down their top guy. Period.
Well,
End of
that's
story.
exactly it.
And they said, now you can't trash Bradley anymore because we have Kuzma and Porzingis. They think, and this is not just them, this is a lot of teams, they think that you need a deep third and fourth option to beat the Raptors, that they're going to shut down your top people. And I don't know if it's true or not. These are just people's opinions, right?
That's fair. I think that's a really fair point, and I think the Raptors are really good at, taking away what the first guy does. They can overhelp over because they've got so much length, so much quickness. They have a really their stable of defenders. What you said, curtain of defenders, is a very interesting term because that is really what it feels like sometimes. And I empathize with other stars like a Donovan Mitchell who had put up 20 points combined in 2 games against the Raptors. That once teams figure this out, that okay, Kevin Durant is not going to have the greatest game tonight, then you move on to your next guy, and Kevin Durant basically becomes a decoy, and the Raptors don't adjust quickly enough to stop the other guy. There was a stat at one point, I think Kyrie Irving was averaging over 20, 22 points per game in second halves against us. Yeah, because we're overhelping on Kevin Durant. I mean, switchable long defenders are still human beings. They can only be in one place at once. You give up too much. Most great teams out there have more than one really good player who can kill you. Most of them have 4 or 5. Most. Like Brooke Lopez could kill you. Middleton could kill you. Drew Holiday could kill you. Giannis can kill you. That's 4 players. Easily 4 players. There's probably a 5th on that team. The Boston Celtics have 5 or 6, right? Even the Brooklyn Nets in their current state have 2 or 3. So there's not really a lot of teams out there that are going to, even like, you look at the Dallas Mavericks now, like they have a Kyrie and a Luka. So in a lot of ways, the strategy of trying to shut down the star, it's very 90s. It's extremely 90s. The concept is very 90s. The methodology is extremely 2023, but it's a very 90s concept when teams did have typically 1 or maximum 2 stars. Yeah, you could do that. If you could have exacted this philosophy as the Detroit Pistons when they were shutting down, and this is exactly, by the way, what the Detroit Pistons did to the Orlando Magic, the Tracy McGrady-led Orlando Magic, because the Orlando Magic didn't have a second star. Their second star was what, Mike Miller? They didn't have a second guy because Grant Hill was out. So yeah, if you can shut down Tracy, you can shut down the Magic. And a hell of a task. Tracy McGrady at that point was just so good. But yeah, like if you can send second defenders, and they had Tayshaun Prince, and that's exactly the type of defender that the Raptors have built their entire system around. Long, switchable, tall, defenders. And so yeah, you can put a Precious Achiuwa and put an OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, or Siakam, whoever's closest, to aggressively help on that. But you over focus on that. If that player is number one, if that star is a good passer, and most stars are, right? Most great stars are either good or, really good passers, good playmakers. The role players are going to have a field day. And I think if I was a shooter in the NBA, if I was a JJ Redick type, I would just see the Raptors. I would be like, that's going to be my day to drop 30. So the cat is out of the bag. I think other teams know. I think the Raptors need to adjust, switch things up a little bit more. Yeah. It's interesting because it's ironic because, the day Kobe put up 81, the strategy was completely opposite. It was let Kobe do whatever he wants. We're not going to let anybody else get going. Apparently, whatever he wanted was 81.
That's 81 points.
Yeah. Anyways, Mario, thanks for calling and thanks for all your insights on the Washington broadcast. It's always nice to hear what other teams' broadcasters are saying. I think the Raptors podcast tonight dropped some pretty good truth bombs as well.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot, Mario. Cheers. Kuato from Mars, thank you so much. Also, there was a super sticker from Julia earlier. I flashed it on the screen, but I didn't get a chance to say thank you. Thank you so much for that. February was our by far most lucrative month ever, and really big part of that was these super chat stickers. So thank you so much. Our next 2 callers, I guess we're gonna have Mo and Vince. Can we just bring them on together? Would that work? Okay, Mo, you're familiar with Vince, right?
I am.
Okay. Do you want me to just bring you both on together?
I listened to both of you guys. I was grocery shopping the other day, and I listened to the end of the last one. So yeah, it was good stuff.
All right, Vince, How you doing?
I was
We're gonna
buying
get.
waffles, listening to you guys talk about go everywhere.
Come
We were
on,
going everywhere.
Coach Mo, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is this: Marco was watching that game, today's game, with his pants off, bro. He was loving it, man. He had lotion and a pair
Yo,
of
my, my,
socks.
my girlfriend was just like, Kyle Kuzma is going off. Marco's gonna call in.
Marco right now, he's sleeping like a baby with the fan on. Like he's living his best life, dreaming with.
Kuzma was great, man. He was really good. He was really good. Vince texted me somewhere around like third quarter, said this game's hard to watch, bro. Yup. This was hard.
I don't ever remember saying the words the Washington Wizards are better than the Toronto Raptors. I don't remember the last time that was a reality.
They're more talented, for sure.
They are.
Like, and it's so weird to say, because yeah, like I mean, lost in all of this is the Wizards are also drastically underperforming. You know, you look at the talent on paper, you're telling me that this team should be behind New York? Really? Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, Kyle Kuzma, Denny Avdija, yeah, like DeLon Wright. These are all serviceable and good NBA players. I don't see how, like, I mean, if I had to pick Julius Randle versus Kristaps Porzingis, to me, it's 1A, 1B. I could throw a hat up. I prefer Porzingis personally. So
For our team.
For any team.
I mean, more specifically, our team, it's Porzingis easily.
I think it's just because he plays defense, man.
Yeah. Today, I don't know why we were trying to attack Porzingis. He's like 7'6". Why are you trying to? Like, I don't understand.
You sure he's not 7'9", 7'10", 7'11"?
Like even Barnes, like he bodied him under the rim, and just the arms are just so long. They just go on forever, and he blocks you.
They do. It's sad. I mean, whatever. What you gonna do? What's your expectation for Saturday?
Me?
Yeah, both of you.
I think we can split it, but I'm hoping we lose.
Me too.
Dude,
Same.
Listen, I don't even know why people are frustrated with this team, because it's like, yeah, we've won 7 of our last 10.
We gave up a pick. That's why I'm frustrated.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the trade, what we gave up. I'm talking about this team. Why are you frustrated at what you see from this team? Like, post deadline, what have you seen from this team? What win have you seen that you said, okay, that's it, we got something here? Like, I've never been impressed on any of the wins.
That's fair.
Like, what win did you say? Like that Sacramento win on the road, like that was a
that was impressive. I gotta tell you, you held, like, do you realize the Sacramento Kings have like the best offense in the last 20 years? You clamped that offense, clamped it. Like, I'm familiar with the concept of small sample sizes, and I realize that this potentially could be fool's gold, but it's possible. I genuinely believe 1000% that this team is just chemistry. It's just chemistry. I really believe it.
Oh yeah, there's
Sacramento doesn't have a true big. Like Sabonis is the closest thing to that. He's their starting center, but they don't have a rim protecting big. They don't have like a big.
But what does this have to do with shutting them down on defense? We shut them down on defense. I mean, granted, that day they did not have Kevin Huerter, and I think Huerter would have made a really big difference for them. But still,
everybody's got off nights. That's all it was. I think if we played Sacramento in a best of 7 series, we'd get swept right now.
You think so? Swept?
Maybe a gentleman's
I don't know, but I don't know about swept, man. De'Aaron Fox is a defensive liability. I don't care what Leo says.
Not anymore, my friend. He's good this year.
Good?
He's good.
Defensively, he's good.
Dude, did you? Okay,
what's good?
I know that quoting a game that ended 176 to 175 isn't the best.
Jesus Christ.
for
Bro,
terms of defense,
nobody played defense that whole game.
Okay, that game I watched it from start to finish, and that game was just one series of incredible incredible shot after another. It was a display of incredible shot making, and like it didn't, like the defense at that point didn't matter. They were just bombing threes. And what can you do?
You know what would be the most incredible display of shot making ever? If I had Joe Wieskamp play you one-on-one. That would be incredible. You would see something that would put prime Michael Jordan to shame because you can't
That'd be a
guard him.
layup
And you
line.
can't guard him. He wouldn't. It wouldn't be layups either, man. I think Joe would get really creative on you. I think he would give you shimmy shakes. I think he'd give you a dream shake. I think he would give you the you're too small. You're too small. You know, like my point is, like, you know, there is no rim protection. Zubats, I believe that game he didn't play, right? So they started Plumlee. Plumlee and Sabonis in the middle, like, yeah, it's gonna be a layup line. I great offense can look great when defense is not there, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, the team we saw against, you know, the Raptors, the Sacramento Kings, I don't know. There's no one on that team that inspires like a great deal of fear in me. But I agree. If Herter is healthy, if Herter plays, I give that team the edge in the playoffs against us. I don't think it's a sweep though.
I think they're the exact opposite of Toronto insofar as that they are greater than the sum of their parts, and we are lesser than the sum of our parts.
100,000%. And you know,
Yeah.
one of the things that we came to, like a sort of aha moment when Leo and I were doing a live stream, it was like, what did Sacramento have last year that Toronto has this year?
What did they have last year?
Yep. What did Sacramento do or have last year? Who was on the Sacramento staff last year that is currently on the
Oh,
Rico? I swear, man. Like, when I watch those Rico runs, this is exactly how this team plays. They play like those Rico runs. Tell me where the difference is. The only difference is the court was smaller. That's it.
But yo, who's instilling fear in anybody on our roster?
Nobody. Nobody.
We have I can comfortably say, I think I could. We have a bottom 10 roster in terms of talent in the league.
Really? And no, I don't.
How many rosters are we more talented than talent?
I think it's just all a matter of fit. Like in the same regard, maybe you
individually.
You use Julius Randle and KP and Porzingis.
I think we're more talented than the Knicks. I think we're more talented than the Knicks. Sorry, I do. Do you? Do you disagree with that?
No, you can make an argument we are. Yeah.
I mean, okay, talent for talent. You really think that Julius Randle is more talented than Pascal Siakam? Really?
I mean, I think they're around the same.
Okay,
I think they're
fine.
around the same.
They're around the same. Do you think Jalen Brunson?
Julius got drafted, right? You know where Julius got drafted? I think he was
7th.
Like, what was he?
7th to the
Was
Lakers.
he 7th?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive. He was one of my favorite players. Yeah, I loved him. I love Julius Randle.
You were going to go to Brunson and Van Vliet next?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Brunson's more talented. Yes, I do. But do I think RJ Barrett is more? Okay, yes. So sure, RJ Barrett is more talented than OG Anunoby, but he's not a better player than OG Anunoby.
RJ is almost an afterthought on that team right now. Quentin Grimes is more important than RJ, and so is what's his name, Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah,
I like how Quentin Grimes moves. Like I like how
he's talented. Josh Hart is talented.
Yep.
Opie Toppin is talented. I'm just saying, like,
yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
We blow the Knicks out of the water in terms of talent, right?
I just think that it's a little bit hard for me in my brain to understand that, like, why are GMs willing to trade away Kevin Durant potentially for a package around Scotty Barnes, or why are GMs willing to part with 3 first-round picks for? And I mean, let's be real for a second. Scotty and OG Anunoby are your 4th and 5th options.
And they have more trade value.
And they have more trade value than your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd options combined. Let me put it this way. If I was to put an offer, let's say for Kevin Durant, and I would say, okay, Brooklyn or Phoenix or whoever the fuck has him. Offer number 1, OG plus Scotty. Offer number 2, Gary plus Fred plus Pascal. Which one do you want?
Well, the first one, easy.
They would take the first one 10 times out of 10, and 15 times out of 15, 100,000 times out of 100,000 times. So your 4th and 5th options are your most valuable players on your roster. Your first option is probably your 3rd most valuable player on your roster. Your 2nd option is one of your least valuable. Your 2nd and 3rd options are your least valuable commodities. Both guys trying to get paid. I think really, it's possible for a situation to just become automatically harmonious with one guy leaving. It's possible. I've been on a lot of teams, a lot of boards, a lot of companies where it's just one guy comes in the room is just polluted until that guy leaves. And then everyone just vibes different. Everyone plays different. It's hard for me,
Who's that guy?
it's hard for me to say, okay, well, OG is not as talented as RJ. OG was in legitimate all-star contention earlier this year. I think there could be a lot of numbers that could say he was in the conversation of top 35 players in the NBA. I don't think RJ Barrett or Quentin Grimes have ever been in that conversation, nor should they have ever been in that conversation. I think OG Anunoby was legitimately, arguably a top 3, top 4 defender to start this year out, and he was averaging 20 points per game. A 20-point per game scorer who's a top 3 to 4 defender, that is an all-star.
That's like Ron Artest.
That's basically prime Ron Artest, and or that's better than what Jaren Jackson Jr. is right now. The hell, that's not a top 30 player. There's nobody on the Knicks roster other than Julius Randle or Brunson who is at that level. So yeah, OG would easily be the third, in my opinion, be the third best player on the Knicks. I think Scotty would probably be the third best player on the Knicks.
Yeah.
Or yeah, probably.
That's
So
I
they're
think
better coached. They're better coached.
better coached. Mitchell Robinson or Jakob Poeltl, in terms of talent, probably Mitchell Robinson,
Yeah,
I guess.
Mitchell
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like Yak. I like Big Yak better than Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah,
But
we're-
more-
I like
more-
him
more
better.
More touch around the basket. Better positional defender.
Who
Maybe
needs
not
touch
as much
on the
quick,
basket when you
quick and
just
hot.
dunk it? When you're just a pogo stick, who needs touch?
Yeah.
Did Dwight have touch? He didn't need it. He just threw it through the net.
I mean, he
Yeah.
doesn't have a.
He didn't age
That's
very
why
well.
they shoot like 70%. These guys shoot like 70%. They're just dunking. They're playing Nerf hoops. But
I mean, in
Uh,
fairness, Mitchell Robinson, just to put this into perspective, for his career, shoots 72% from the field.
yeah,
Right.
So when you're talking touch, you're talking about one of the few guys in the NBA who is better around the rim than Jakob Poeltl.
What's Pirtle on his career? It's got to be he's got to be 60 plus.
I
He's
think
60
his
plus.
numbers
He's
are
not
great.
close to 70 though.
Right. I think he gives
That
you a
would be
little
a
bit more.
very
I think he's a
interesting. That would be a
better
very
passer.
interesting. He is a better passer.
Way better.
He can make some like little like jump hooks and weird floater things and stuff like that. I've never seen Robinson do it, but
So
I
the
haven't
gap,
watched him closely.
you're not going to believe this. The gap in their career field goal percentage is 10%.
Because
Oh,
one guy, all
yeah.
he does is dunk, basically.
Yeah.
So what? If you can dunk, you can
No,
dunk.
I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I'm
Yeah.
saying that's why it's 10%.
Yeah. I
I
think
feel like he does a little bit more than just dunk. Come on.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
I
is the
think there's
dunk
a lot.
percentage. Like if you banned dunking from the NBA, Mitchell Robinson would take a hit. Like he'd take a massive hit.
Everyone would take a hit if you banned dunking from the
No, but I'm
NBA.
saying field goal percentage wise, his
He would not
Okay.
be in the league.
just to put this into perspective, so just to compare this, Mitchell Robinson's box plus minus this year is 3.1, which is honestly, wow. Okay, hang on. This is crazy.
7 straight or something like that. Like
Dude, do you know what Jakob Poeltl's box plus minus is for the Raptors? Like since he's been a Raptor?
what is it?
He's the greatest Raptor of all time.
Yeah. He tried to will us to victory tonight.
Bro, 8.5 box plus minus, win shares per 48, 0.276. Holy fucking shit.
But
This is a guy with a career box plus minus of 1.1.
what he's
he
doing
has-
with us,
Wow. Okay, I got to put this on the screen because this is like, if you want to talk what the fuck numbers, this is what the fuck numbers. Hang
that's
on.
how bad we are. And this is
No,
this
no,
is
no,
what
no,
makes-
no, 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 no. Don't spin this into a negative. This is
No,
insanity.
No. It's great for him, but this really torpedoed the tank. Like he single-handedly was like stopped the nuclear launch codes. Like he just
I mean I would have been fine with it. I would have been fine with the trade if they would have followed it up with cashing Pascal or Fred or both of them into something else. You know, like I don't mind him as an asset on the team. I think he's great for Scotty. He's He's a big guy who's a great outlet around the basket. He's got some playmaking chops. He can pass the ball. He's a smart player, right? Those are the guys that you want around
Are you
Scotty.
looking at your screen?
Yeah.
Do you see that number? Okay,
What am I
go to
looking
the
at here?
go to the final to the value of a replacement is what it is. Don't worry
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
box plus minus.
Look
Yeah,
at the box plus
8.5.
minus.
Yeah.
Jeez.
8.5.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ, that's 7 games. 8.5, dude. This is insanity. And he's
Yeah.
doing it on 17% usage. His
his-
point 276 win shares per 48. Just to put this into context, he has been so much like this 7-game stretch is better than any. I would argue this is the best. This 7-game stretch is better than any 7-game stretch that Pascal Siakam's ever had analytically. Ever. I cannot
Probably.
think of another 7-game stretch where Pascal Siakam was even in the neighborhood of 8.5 box plus minus.
Of shooting
Like when he started out the
71%?
season, huh? You know when
Of
Siakam
shooting 71%.
Oh, that is he's never touched that. But like I'm saying, if you want to talk like to start the year when people are talking MVP, he was in the 5.9 to 6.1 range. 8.5 box plus minus is MVP range. So basically, Jakob Poeltl's contributions to this team have been MVP level for 7 games. That is insane. I know he's been good. I'm shocked to discover how good. This is madness. This
And
is
that's
Sparta.
Is he going to cost us more for doing this? Does his price go up? Because I think this is specifically for us. I don't think other teams will value him to what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know.
I think they have I think they probably each have a somewhat predetermined number for them. I think
I mean,
Jakob
there's
knows
no such
his
thing as a
limitations.
predetermined number when it comes to free markets, right? Like,
Not like
I
a
mean-
ballpark. I think they've got a ballpark, and I think it's probably like Jakob comes across as a realistic kind of guy, and if he was to be offered $20 million a year, which I think is what around he's worth, I think he'll be fine with that, and I think he likes it enough here in Toronto to want to stay. And I don't. Like
yeah,
I
but
said,
I mean,
don't
like,
mind him
if
for-
another team sees him doing this, I mean, and we start winning, and he's like, look, I'm not saying that there is a fucking chance in hell that he's going to keep up 8.5 box plus minus. This is Giannis range. Like, people do not understand. Like, as someone who looks at these numbers a lot, I'm telling you, I am genuinely shocked. If you put a gun to my head and said estimate Jakob's box plus minus with the Raptors, I would have guessed 4.6 to 5. This is
Right.
shocking beyond belief.
Well, if you
8.5
break it
box plus
down-
minus is all time. This is Michael Jordan range. Like, Jordan had a bunch of 8.5 box plus minus seasons. LeBron's 8.5, 9.5, 10.2, 10.7 range. This is all-time greats territory. There aren't a lot of players that have ever done this over a 7-game stretch. I'll guarantee you Andrea Bargnani never had a 7-game stretch like this. I would
Yeah,
probably
36
venture
games.
I'd probably venture to guess there are some Hall of Famers who haven't put a 7-game stretch together successively like this. I'm not talking cherry picking their 7 best games. Yes, that happens all the time. I'm talking first 7 games with the team. Like, this is crazy to me. Wow.
I think the numbers are skewed a little bit for
How
while
bad
he's
we
on
are,
Toronto.
how many shots we miss.
That's not how box plus minus works.
No, but I think their entire strategy is predicated on crashing the glass, and so I think he shines in that environment.
It wouldn't.
I think-
that would change his PER a lot, but it wouldn't change his box plus minus too drastically. Box plus minus is a significant. It is an impact on how you're impacting your team offensively and defensively. It does not matter how many rebounds you get or like necessarily. It's not as. There's a lot of stats that over prioritize hustle bigs. Like, you'll often see like LeBron, Giannis, Montrezl Harrell. You're like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
there's a couple of those stats. You know, PER is definitely one of them, right? Box plus minus, win shares per 48 are agreeing that Jakob Poeltl has been downright like superstar level for you so far, and yeah, he has been. He's been really good.
He's a good player. Look
He
at
better be.
his
He
line
cost us
tonight.
Wemby.
I mean, what is he? What the fuck
Yeah.
is he doing? What is he doing That is not better than Pascal Siakam right now. He's scoring at a higher clip than Pascal Siakam. He rebounds better than Siakam. He's a better passer than Siakam. What the fuck does Siakam do that Siakam
Well,
doesn't do other than self-generate offense? And I mean, even if you want to talk self-generating offense, you telling me you can't throw the ball to Jakob in the post or Jakob like 3-4 feet away from the basket and just like get him to do turnaround hook shots all day?
Sure.
Holy shit! You know the Raptors have a serious asset here.
Yeah,
The-
well,
I still give the
only-
trade a D, but
The
hell,
only, the
he's
only
good.
thing that can save it, the only thing is that can save it is that if they recognize before the season next year that a move's got to be made. Like,
Mhm.
first of all, let's hope they lose this year, okay? Because
Yeah.
if they win, like
horribly crash and burn.
like we need them. So I think they're going on a pretty brutal road trip pretty
Yep.
soon. 6 games, maybe something like that. Playing Denver, like playing super hard teams.
Yep.
We gotta hope they go 0-6 in that.
Amen,
like,
brother.
I don't know
Amen.
about 0-6, dude.
So look at where they stand. I've got the
getting
the
texts.
standings in front of me right now.
Dude, LeBron's not
And-
going to play that Laker game. You know that, right?
No, LeBron is out for the year, like 3 weeks minimum. And
Yeah,
I
but we
think
are.
that's-
We're gonna show up. This sorry ass team will.
It's okay. Hopefully AD can I don't know, put in some work. But we're better right now than better in terms of seeding than Washington, Chicago, Indiana. I would say all 3 of those teams are quote unquote better than us,
Okay.
right? And I would say Oklahoma's better than us. Portland is better than us. Throw the Lakers in there, sure, if they're full strength, and
Mhm.
New Orleans, obviously, and Utah if they're full strength.
Okay.
Right?
Basically,
but we're
what
in
he's trying to
front
say
of all
is-
those teams.
Basically, what he's trying to say is, we are better than the Hornets, Pistons, Spurs, and Rockets. Everything else is a death match or a slaughter. That's what he's trying to say.
And we need to get down to those guys' level. Like,
Other than
as
those 4
close to
bottom
them as
feeders,
possible.
other than those 4 bottom feeders, how can you be comfortable against any team the way we've been playing the past like 3 months? How?
Not
I
to
mean,
mention,
dude, like
not
the
to-
Raptors won a ton of games, dude.
Yeah, barely against
No,
garbage.
I'm with you. I'm with you. They
Yeah.
faced a lot of depleted teams, but like
barely against garbage.
these are the next few games coming up, right? So you have the Wizards, right? Let's say let's play the game. So we'll just guess where they'll be after 10 more games, right? So right now, what's the record? 31-33? Is that correct?
Yes.
yeah, that's right.
Okay. So they face the Wizards. What's the record after that? Let's just play the game. Like, will all 3 of us will say win, loss, or you guys say win, loss. If you both agree,
Okay.
we'll count it as whatever it is.
This is not
If you
hopeful-
disagree,
this is not
I'll
hopeful thinking,
break the
'cause we
tie.
can't just say loss. This isn't hopeful thinking, Vince.
No,
I
no,
know
no.
we-
Okay.
No, this is not hopeful thinking. This is realistic thinking. Lakers without LeBron. Nuggets
We're
at home,
assuming
Nuggets on
this
the
team
road.
has pride. We're assuming this team has pride.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm gonna say
win.
they lose the first 3. Oh wait,
Wait,
sorry, no,
go
it's
go
quite-
one by one. Okay,
Yeah,
so Wizards
I think they're gonna lose.
Okay.
lose.
I
Vince?
think they're gonna lose.
Okay, Mo.
I think they're gonna beat the Wizards.
Okay,
You break the tie.
Oh no, oh no. Y'all put me on the spot on the first one. Chat, help me out. Are they winning or losing? Rue thinks we're winning. Chat, please help me. I'm 5-game winning streak, 4-game winning streak. Losing streak. Oh my god. Okay,
guy
I'm
said
gonna
Mo
go with a win. I feel like there
Maybe
is
talk
some
to the guy in the
pride.
chat. Some guy in the chat said Mo wants the team to lose to give this pick to the Spurs. That's next year, buddy. We have our pick
That
to
is
the
next
Spurs.
year. Okay, we're gonna count this as a win. Okay, so they moved to 32 and 33. Okay. Next game, Nuggets loss.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so 32 and 34.
Clippers loss.
Clipper loss.
I mean, it's the forces of Westbrook. It's the Russell Westbrook factor. I still say loss, but
Lakers. No LeBron, but possibly
They-
AD
they
and
have
D'Angelo
AD.
Russell.
and D'Angelo Russell will be back. I think they're fighting for their playoff lives. It's Friday night. I think we lose.
But no LeBron. They know they don't
Also,
have LeBron.
I think D'Lo is still out
They
too.
won
I'm
in
not-
OKC the other night with
Yeah.
no Russell, no AD, no LeBron. They're actually pretty well constructed at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to win. I pick win. You guys wait. Did you guys say win or loss
We
for
both
Lakers?
said loss.
You both said loss.
I
Okay.
said loss. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're gonna lose. I get outvoted. So 32 and 36. Holy shit, things not looking good for the Raptors. Nuggets again.
That's a loss.
That's a loss.
Holy shit. Okay, 32 and 37. Okay, and then the Thunder.
They'll win that game because that's
Fake
the one
win.
they
Fake
need
win.
to lose.
Fake win. Let them know what it really is.
Okay,
It's a fake
30,
dog.
33 and 36.
No
Okay.
shade. Fake dog.
Timberwolves.
I think they'll win that.
I think they'll lose. What do you think, Mo?
Ooh.
Are they at home?
I think we'd win this one. I think we'd win this one.
I think
But it's
we
a
are
fake win.
we
It's
are at
another
home.
fake win.
Okay.
I'm calling
That's a
all the
win.
wins fake.
34, 36. Okay, then the Bucks.
Bucks, they lose no matter what. Like Giannis doesn't play, they lose. Drew doesn't play, they lose.
Dude, didn't we lose to the Bucks without Giannis?
Yep. Drew went off. And then the
Don't
Pacers.
underestimate our ability to screw things up, buddy.
And then the Pacers.
I think they'll beat the Pacers and they'll beat the Pistons because both the Pacers right now are like resting Halliburton.
Yeah,
They're doing what they need to do.
those
Okay.
franchises are building for the future while we
Yeah.
run
Okay.
the treadmill race.
So
yeah,
so I mean, if and I'm in agreement with you. So two votes, 3. So per your estimates, they beat the Pacers, they beat the Pistons, they beat the Timberwolves, I guess. They beat the Thunder. They beat the Lakers, I believe. No, the
No,
Lakers
they
beat
don't.
us. They beat the Wizards next, or yeah, they beat the Wizards next. So they end up 36 and 37, man. After
Yeah.
the stretch, 10 more games. That's perfectly within play-in range. It's not 6th.
Yeah, no, it is.
Probably not going to be 6th.
Playing for what?
Playing for what? Hence,
we gave up a pick next year so Yak can get us into the play-in. I mean,
it is what
Just
it is.
do the responsible thing for your franchise. Do the responsible thing.
Yeah.
It's like I get it. I think Rob, you've said this to me before. Is that like you don't want to instill a culture of losing. I get that 100%. But if you lose now and get a better asset, that's all out the window. Nobody even remembers that shit, right? That's a better player to put next to Scotty Barnes. That's an asset that you can potentially slot in instead of Pascal and cash Pascal into something else, whether it be picks, whether it be just like role players a la Rudy Gay trade, that kind of deal.
no, this
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do.
this front office is greedy, dude. Greedy.
Do either of you guys play chess? Just curious.
You know what's funny?
What?
I actually
Back in the day.
have chess.com open right now, lessons. 'Cause I actually used to play. I used to play in high school a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know how, but it's been so long that I'm just
Can you?
really starting.
Okay,
from the
so
beginning
let's
again.
play a hypothetical game. Imagine if, you were just blundered and you were just blind, and I just messed up your board by putting a bishop in place of your queen. Right, and the whole game, you're operating under the premise that you got to protect this piece because it's worth 9
Yeah.
points. But then you get to a point where you're trying to go forward and you can't, and you realize, oh, that wasn't a queen, that was a bishop the whole time. It's kind of how I feel about Pascal Siakam.
Oh, amen, amen.
Yeah.
It's you've got this piece, you've anointed it to the status, and believe me, if Pascal Siakam were Jason Tatum, if Fred VanVleet were, Jason Kidd, if these guys were the two Jasons, oh, every move here makes so much sense. Even suspending Scotty's development makes sense.
Yep.
Getting Will Barton makes sense. It is just a classic overvaluation of your own pieces. People get nostalgia. They get
Living off reputation too. Living off reputation.
It is.
Yeah, I think
That's
I
why-
think you hit
that's
the nail
why-
on the head. Rob, you said at one point you thought that that Masai in the front office were a little bit too emotional about these guys.
Well,
And
interestingly enough,
I
isn't that
never wanted to believe that, but it looks that way. You can't be blind. Like it's
Yeah.
just so obvious. Like That's what makes me think that we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They cannot possibly see something that we don't, right? Like we are a
I mean,
bunch
they
of basketball
could.
nerds.
They could. They could. I
Or sorry,
mean,
not have another move in the chamber we haven't taken into account yet.
I mean, you
That maybe
remember my
they have.
reaction to Jakob Poeltl. We didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming.
Nope.
Right.
Look, I think it just comes down to, blind faith, that a player can become what you envision them to become. And look, they envisioned DeMar DeRozan as a playoff number one. They envisioned Dwayne Casey as a coach who could progress from just a development coach to a championship coach. I like that they give people chances. I like that they evaluate. I like that they have faith. I like that they're a culture of internal growth, internal promotion. I like that,
Yeah.
as a human being, I like that. But, there has to be some point where, you stop waiting for a giraffe to climb a tree.
Right.
It can't climb a tree. It's a fucking giraffe.
The difference, the Kyle
Good
Lowry
metaphor.
from our team, they didn't have. I didn't think they ever had a point like we had at this trade deadline to pivot so hard.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this deadline was tailor made for us to pivot so beautifully. And if you had to sell Siakam and Fred 90 cents at the dollar, you do it to get the high draft pick and to start building around Scotty and to, get draft picks and whatever you can. But I feel like that was never there for DeMar and Kyle, because who are you going to trade? DeMar and Kyle? Like, who else was worth something? How many guys on that team were worth something really besides those two?
I think Masai doesn't. He can't lose trades. I think that's the thing. Is that I think he looked at this Jakob
he's
trade.
lost 2 in a row.
Well, I think he looks at it like, hey, Jakob's definitely worth a pick next year and Kem Birch, right? Like a pick in 2 seconds. Like I'll take Jakob over that any day. So he thinks he won that, and I think that he knows that had he just liquidated Pascal and Fred, he would have gotten, I think it would have been less than 90 cents on the dollar. I think it would have been closer to, 70, 75.
Not just trading them. It's also getting a top 5 pick in this draft, potentially getting Wemby. It's like, yeah, I may have slightly lost on that trade, but you're winning by getting a potentially higher odds at a draft pick. It's like two things happening at once.
Here's a question.
It's like the Paul George trade. It's not just the Paul George trade. You got Kawhi because you traded for Paul George. Like you can't look at the Paul George trade as the Paul George trade. Wow, you gave up all that just for Paul George?
Coach Mo,
not just for Paul George.
You're too young to have a heart attack. Don't have a heart attack.
But you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Trust me, and I'm with you. I get it. Like, if you want to consider
now
this,
you're getting 80 cents on the dollar, 75 cents this summer.
From a purely asset management perspective, think of it this way. Let's say you have 2 teams. We call it Raptors version 1, Raptors version 2. And let's say they both exist in the same timeline. Raptors version 1 did what we wanted them to do, which is sell off assets, aggressively tank, and pray for next year. Do not add anything. Do not, add young pieces, but trade away dead weight contracts, trade for future picks, whatever. That team currently has not only their 2023 pick, is on an aggressive losing streak, and probably added another couple of 2023 picks in the mid-teens via trades, and they've traded away Siakam, Fred VanVleet, whatever, Gary Trent Jr. They're off all these players. They're bad. There's this other team, which is the team we're watching right now, which traded for Jakob Poeltl, traded away a 2024 pick, whatever. Let's say team number 1 ends up getting a top 2 pick. Maybe not the first pick, but let's say they get team second, right? Could Raptors version 2 trade Jakob Poeltl plus every pick, literally every pick that they can trade from here on out, which is whatever, their 2023 pick, which ends up being 14th, their 2026 pick, 2028 pick, plus OG. Could they trade it for that number 2 pick?
Yak, those 3 picks in OG? No.
Probably not, right? It would be close.
It would be close.
So that's the point. From an asset perspective, you fucked up.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
You mess up so badly by making this trade, because even if you can argue that the players coming back are great and whatever, this is always going to be a star-driven league. Stars are always going to be worth multiples. And if there
High-end
is a
talent.
player, high-end talent, right? Guys
Top
like,
5 player potential.
yeah, you couldn't trade your whole fucking roster for Luka Doncic right now.
No.
Whole roster. Try
Wouldn't
trading
trade
your
you
whole
for
roster and be
that.
like, hey, Mark Cuban, do you want every single player on this team for Luka Doncic? No, we'll pass. We'll pass.
Yep.
They don't want it because there's only 5 guys on the court. And in the playoffs, one of those guys is going to play 40 minutes and he's going to have the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when it's a Dame Lillard, he's going to score 72 points, which is going to make up 60% of your team's offense. He's going to be 80% of your season ticket sales, pricing points and reasons. One guy has never made more of a difference in team sports than they do in basketball. Not in hockey, not in baseball, not in soccer. There's no other sport where one player makes this massive a difference. And that one player, you better hope you have it in Scotty. I think they have it in Scotty. But man, if you don't have it in Scotty, there was 3 potential chances to get it in this year's
Because
draft.
the one guy you do have, his development is an uphill battle with this roster.
I agree. And that
And that would have been another thing too, to free him up. It would have been
For sure.
threefold. It would have been 3 just
For sure.
those trades would have been triple value.
Yep. No, I get it. And look, at the end of the day, I can definitely say that we would probably be bitching about this even more if Jakob Poeltl came here and was worse. Like if he was so bad.
Oh.
This would probably be even worse, right? Because now you gave up so much.
Onto that pick this year, that'd still actually be better. We'd still be in the tankathon. Like that'd actually be better.
Really? Well, I mean, what if he was playing really horribly and they were still winning?
Oh,
what if they were winning in spite of him? Now you'd be sad, right? You'd be like, "Oh my God, we would have won."
Well, good vibes, good vibes.
Oh my God!
Isn't that what Dad's here for? Isn't that why we swapped picks?
I don't know.
We moved down 10 picks for good vibes. Isn't that why? And leadership.
Good vibes.
And left-handed hook shots and missed corner threes.
I don't know, man. Shot 39% last year from corner threes. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I can't. Can you imagine this team actually drafting Wembanyama and then I don't know having him set screens for Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet or something? Like that's just what this team does. Because Wembanyama, and then Victor Wembanyama goes into Coach Nurse's office, be like, "Hey, man, I was told by my agent that I was going to be a superstar," and it's like, do you have a championship ring, young man? Did you come and win with the 2018, 2019 Raptors? No, you didn't. Now go sit down and set some fucking picks.
Did you score the winning basket in the championship?
Did you guard Steph Curry, bro? Oh my God, this is such a...
Did you chip your tooth in pursuit of a championship?
I hate this type of organizational culture, I really do. Like this idea of like, nostalgic, selective memorization, people like it's almost like it almost feels like nepotism.
Never happened.
It almost feels like nepotism, right? Like a little bit. It is a little bit nepotistic. Like I know it's not like Siakam and VanVleet are not related to Messiah, whatever, but it just feels like you're doing special favors for guys who got you through the championship run.
Someone said Nurse will send Wembanyama to the Raptors 905.
Yeah. No, that's not gonna happen.
And play that over him.
But Jesus, that would be sucking. Anyways, I
just want to say this.
What's up?
I love that we lost today. I love that Nick Nurse got frustrated at the end, and Bradley Beal had to calm him down.
Is that what happened at the end?
Yeah.
Bradley Beal calmed him down.
Well, he was trying to talk to him, and I read Nurse's lips. He's like, "Make a fucking call to the refs," right? That's what he was saying. I want a loss Saturday. I want Masai and Bobby and Nurse to eat the giant shit sandwich they prepared for themselves this year at the end of your presser wearing clown makeup. Like, no more. You're not getting any more grace for reputation. It's over. This year, it's pathetic. This trade deadline was the most pathetic trade deadline I've ever been a part of in Raptors history. Like, it's bad. And you said it. They think this is the end game. Like, this was 2019 moves. Like, get a big Marc Gasol, a buyout guy like Jeremy Lin. We did that with Jakob and Barton. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, why is Barton here? To do what?
Yeah, I didn't love that, and I really don't love him playing 4 minutes. Like I don't get it. Like personally, we didn't talk very much about how bad the bench was tonight,
I
but I
hope.
feel like they're so much more talented than they are, and I'm just kind of tired of looking at the piece of paper and saying, "Man, we should have the advantage on the bench," and then not getting it over and over, and it's just like, what is it?
Do you remember when we used to be compared to the Spurs and the Heat in terms of like drafting and
Do you
development
remember
and
when the
coaching?
Spurs used to be compared to the Spurs? Because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
been for a
Well, at
while.
least the Spurs are in the Wemby's. Those guys, they do it right. They're like, we need another Duncan, and we can ride his coattails for another 20 years. Meanwhile, we're riding Siakam's coattails. People are like, oh, he's carrying us. To what? What's our record? What's the definition of carrying?
I don't know, man.
Where has he
I
carried us?
think like if Scotty ends up being like as great as people think he is, then I think you're settled on. I don't think we're quite in Devin Vassell is our franchise player territory right now. Like I think we're a little bit better off, and the Spurs have been in the lottery for quite a few years. They
If they get
drafted Jeremy
Wemby, it's
Sohan
over.
in the
It's over.
draft. Sorry, in the lottery, they drafted God damn it, the player that they've waived now. What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? Canadian kid.
Oh,
Dude,
the one that was exposing
Josh
himself,
Primo. Josh
Oh,
Primo.
God.
So Josh
the
Primo,
nudist.
yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to judge. And I did want to talk very, very briefly about this. And Vince, are you cool with performing something, or no? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, not tonight. I'm kind of sick. I will at some point.
Okay,
Like
cool,
I'll be on a bunch more of these.
cool. Okay, we're gonna do that at some point. But I do want to talk about this thing that happened with Ja Morant. Have you heard of it?
Yes, yes, I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Okay,
Yes.
so just to get away from the Raptors, because I think just
It's
I
getting
think we're all
it's,
get to
it's getting heated.
num
It's getting heated.
it's getting heated, and it's getting a little like I think we're repeating
But
ourselves a little bit at this point. So I think I I remember reading this thing. Like first of all, just full disclosure, I love Ja Morant. Love him. Like love him as a player. Followed his entire story throughout. Something that started troubling me a lot about Ja was when people started going at him about living this sort of fake thug life, right? And people being like, "Yo, you're not really from the hood. Like, stop acting like this." And he just kind of went being like, "Oh, I'm just never gonna forget where I'm from," and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes one of the things that like really does athletes in is what's your inner circle, who are you filtering around. There's been a couple of issues with Ja's crew, Ja's boys, and this latest report that he beat the shit out of a kid in a pickup game, 17-year-old kid, and exposed a gun. If this is true, like this is news. Like this is it's career threatening stuff. I mean, I'm not saying it's
Yeah,
career ending. It's not career ending, but for a franchise player to have that reputation, it's tough. And Allen Iverson had a similar situation come up. I remember I was in Italy during the summer, and the news reports came out about that. Obviously, Gilbert Arenas, who could forget Javaris Crittenton, that whole
Yep.
that's not a
scen-
17-year-old kid.
number one, that was not a 17-year-old kid. That was a player on a player in a
A
locker
grown man.
room. But
Yeah.
it's hard to say that Nike or big sponsors can come back after this. But I
And he
wanted to
just got his
talk.
signature shoe. He just got his signature shoe too.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I guess what I wanted to talk about is how difficult it is to be a professional athlete, the pressures that come with it. I know that seems like a turn, in another way because, it'd be very easy for me to sit here and try to judge, oh, Ja is so stupid. He shouldn't have done that. I don't feel that way. That's not genuinely how I feel. And that's not genuinely how I feel about anything. It's just, I listen to a lot of NBA players talk about coming into professional basketball circles and having all these traumas and having this life that they've lived prior to the NBA and then coming in and expecting, to just be normal. And sometimes things are not normal. Sometimes you're going to get heated, fused up. You're going to get like really angry about certain things based on past traumas, past triggers, and you're not necessarily having people who are equipped to deal with you at your level all the time. And they're just asking you, hey, like, like for instance, like Zion's eating. Like that's a great example. Like Zion's eating. Like Ben Simmons' mental health issues, Kyrie Irving's, political, stuff. Now Ja Morant's off-court issues. So what do you think that we can do as commentators to I don't know, where should this conversation even go? I guess I always want to like say like is there something that you want to say about this? Because I just think that being a professional athlete in the day of social media is just really fucking hard.
Yeah, I agree that a lot of the athletes that are under scrutiny for whatever it is, um, when certain stories are distilled down to a headline, everybody's like really quick to judge without knowing any of the ins and outs behind the headline.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy that plays for Sacramento that used to be on the Raptors, Terrence Davis.
Yep.
Right. He was not was he charged for something? There was something involving domestic dispute of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like well-known Raptors pundits. That dude, specifically Sean Woodley from the Locked On Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
Was just like super quick to dismiss this guy. Yeah, let's get him off the team. Let's trade him. Let's like, and I think my first reaction, like, I don't want to ever defend somebody who raises their hands to either their wife or girlfriend or kid or whatever it is.
Right.
I was quote unquote abused as a kid because it was normal to hit your kids in the 80s.
Me
right?
too.
I still love my parents despite that, so like that kind of stuff can happen. And so sometimes when there's no context, I think we as a society are super quick to pile on top of athletes just because, they make all this money, they're, like people disparage guys like Russ and Kyrie and all these guys, and like making fun of their names and shit like that. Like, dude, if you ever saw these people, if you were in a room with this person, would you be saying this stuff to their face? No, they're a human being. You would never do that. This is like, is an amount of hatred and that the internet provides a sort of a layer of protection from, or even if it's out in public,
right.
The fact that everyone's got phones that record video like at the drop of a dime, and so yeah, I definitely empathize with I can't empathize with them because I've never been in the position, but I can sympathize with them insofar as we don't know the kind of shit that they need to go through, and like stupid shit like calling like screaming Westbrook at Westbrook and whatever, like if you want to joke around with your friends because you have Westbrook on your fantasy team and he just shit the bed for you and you call him Westbrook, that's fine, right? But if you have the gall enough to yell at this man for that, like, bro, this is this dude's family name, dude. You're not only insulting him, you're insulting his wife, his kid, his parents. Like, take
There
it
was
easy with that kind of
ESPN report where someone called him a vampire. And his wife responded to that, and she said, you know, like, can you please ease up on this vampire shit? Because I have kids in school, and I have to literally tell them. And so I'm becoming more cognizant of the fact that, like, when I, call Pascal Siakam or Fred VanVleet, like, really selfish, that, like, am I...
We're talking basketball.
I'm trying, right? And
we get that it's in the basketball context.
Right. Exactly, because I'm not denying that these guys do like great work for their families, that they're putting, they're doing great work in their communities. I'm just straight up talking basketball. I don't want to make it personal. It often gets so fucking personal because, it's frustrating. Like, basketball is life for me in a lot of ways, and it does get frustrating to watch like terrible basketball play. But again, like, I can't. You're right. Like, to the specific point that you made about Shaan, like quickly jumping on Terrence Davis or whatever, I think there needs to be some level of, something I talk about with my girlfriend a lot is like, be okay with not having an opinion about everything. Right. It's okay. Totally. It's okay to just not fucking know.
Waiting for all the information.
Right. And I
Totally.
mean, it's not like, I mean, and I often find myself like asking that question, like, so somebody said the other day about something about colonialism, right? So, God, what was it? They said, okay, so the story was that somebody said, that it's really brave for a woman to go by themselves to Egypt because it's a very dangerous country for white women or North American women. And somebody corrected them online and said, that's a very colonialist attitude, right? And so this other person, this third person telling me about the story, they're just like, oh man, this woke culture, this, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, number one, what do you know about woke culture? Number two, what do you know about colonialism? Number three, what do you know about women? What's four? And what do you know about Egypt? Because if you don't know anything about any of that shit, then you really don't have a right to have a fucking opinion
Right.
about this. And to be
Right.
honest, you telling me your opinion about this doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me because I do have a
Right.
lot of knowledge about those four subjects. And I can tell you I've been to Egypt myself. And I can tell you that what you're going to tell me is probably not going to agree with me. Right. And it's like, even as someone who's been to Egypt, I went to Egypt like 15 years ago. Egypt's probably changed a
Yeah.
lot, like every other place on earth. So I can't even speak with enough confidence about that. It's just having that humility to be like, I wasn't there. I don't get to have an opinion about this. I don't have to have an opinion
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
If it went this way, okay, I get it. If it didn't, whatever. But just, I think the problem is that, and then this is kind of interesting because the other day I made a post about cinematography. I'm a cinematographer, and I said I think that I'm a pretty mediocre cinematographer. And someone messaged me, and they were just like, "Dude, you're like really good. Like your work is amazing, and there's a lot of people who look up to you. You saying you're mediocre? How the hell does that help anybody? How does that help you get a job? People, would you hire someone who's mediocre?" I'm like, Maybe not, but I would love to hire someone who's self-aware." And I
Yeah.
think we're living in this sort of culture where everything's got to be the best
Yeah.
or the
Okay.
worst. Everything's like, this guy's just fucking like, he's pro, he's amazing, he's whatever, or he's just shit, he's garbage. And every other take in the middle of like, this guy's cool, that just doesn't get any views, it doesn't get any circulation, it doesn't get any play, it doesn't get out there. If I have to make a video, I have to basically say this guy's the best thing since sliced bread or the worst thing since sliced bread if I want that video to get more than
I'm here for the
4,000
worst.
views.
I got you on the
Right.
worst. I got you.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the worst game in the history of the NBA. Perfect. Let's watch that. I don't have time for the 8,922nd best game in the NBA. No, no, no. I need to see this is the worst or this is the best. And so Terrence Davis is either a woman beater or he's the
Right.
victim
Sure.
of, racism,
You,
right?
Right.
Like
Or
it's
possible
got to
that
be
he
one or
was
the
a-
other.
you have to jump on the woman beater. Like that guy you were talking about, like the Terrence Davis thing with the domestic violence. It's like you have to be. We're in such a virtue signaling culture that you almost have to cancel him as a guy because it's like if you don't cancel him as a guy, you're pro woman beating. Like that's the logic we're on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you don't denounce something immediately, you're for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
You
mean,
always
Yeah,
have to
it's true.
pre-qualify.
and also like social currency, like for instance, like this Terrence Davis situation. Let's say, for instance, someone tells me about this situation live on air. Let's say, and I mean, these lives are hella intimidating for that reason because you often find out about things live on air and people get to see your authentic, actual reaction. And because I don't have a poker face, you're going to get to see my actual reaction. And so let's say, for instance, somebody tells me, hey, Ja Morant beat his girlfriend up or something like that, something crazy like that, or X player beat his girlfriend up. Okay. And then what am I going to say? What if I say like, let's wait for all the facts to come out and then what is someone going to do with that? They're going to snip that clip out and they're going to be like, oh, he's defending a woman beater.
Right.
Believe all women.
Right.
That's a thing too.
Sure.
It also depends. It depends on who the
If it
player
was
is.
your mother,
like,
would you believe her? They'll throw that at you. They'll just
Sure.
Right.
And,
like,
and I mean,
you can be humiliated.
but how quickly we throw these tags around, like, hey, let's wait for this footage of this shooting to come out. Boom, you're a racist. Can we please wait for the other side? Oh, you're siding with corporate America. You're not woke. It's like it's so like you can't even say something good about someone who's bad. Like, can I just admit that Good Will Hunting was an amazing film without having to own up to every fucking thing that Harvey Weinstein did?
Yeah.
Can I like be cool with Ben Affleck without owning every element of his entire personality? Can there be a certain
Can you
degree of
separate the
nuance,
artist
right?
from the art? Can you separate
Yeah,
the artist from the art?
I don't. yeah, like, and you know what? I got to be honest. Like Roman Polanski, one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, has the history of like the worst history, right? I
Yes.
mean, it's bad. And I got to tell you, there was a part of me that's just like, man, I still love his films, though. I love Rosemary's Baby. I love The Pianist. I love so many of his films. And it became harder and harder for me the more I gravitated left politically to be able to still watch those films and feel comfortable with it because it felt like I was supporting something. But I do agree, you do have to be able to distance the art from the artist, man. Like I don't want to believe that watching Ja Morant play basketball means I'm in support of violence against,
That's
17-year-olds. It's
yeah.
not it. Like it's
That's true.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's true. And we also have to be conscious that there are a lot of other people at. So if you're a professional athlete that makes tens of millions of dollars a year,
Mm-hmm.
you are an immediate target for anyone and everybody who dreams of being in a position like yours. So
Right.
what could have happened? I don't know. I don't know what happened with this kid on a basketball court, and whether or not he got beat up. But let's say you were playing one-on-one, innocent, at a park with somebody, and it doesn't matter how old they are. Let's say this 17-year-old was 6'5", 200 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
right? If they're coming at you and pushing you around and disrespecting you and screaming at you because they know something, like they know that you make millions of dollars, so they think it's going to give themselves some kind of cred, to go at you,
For
right?
sure.
You're gonna, as a man, defend yourself in some regard. And I am not defending Ja Morant. I'm just saying that we don't know what happened, right? And so we can't be quick to judge. And oftentimes things will happen in a way directed at these athletes so as to score a buck, right? They
So
they
often that
want
is the
something to
case.
happen.
That is the
They
case. And
want something to happen.
you're right. And I remember talking to an NBA player once, and I'm not going to say who, but this was about, I want to say 14 years ago, 13 years ago. And he said to me that one time he was at a press screening or something for a documentary, and somebody came up to him and they spilled something on him. And he asked them to, hey, like, he kind of got angry. He said, hey, like, what the fuck? Like, you gonna apologize for that? And he's just like, make me. And he got in his face and he said, if you touch me, I know how much you make. Like, it was
Right.
basically like, it's entrapment. It's constant
Yeah.
entrapment.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
when I look at a guy like Scotty Barnes, for instance, I think about how closed off his circle is, like how tight knit everything is for him. He doesn't let anybody in. And it's great. It's a very
Yeah.
good thing. He learned at a very young age. He's been very well coached about it. He's good people around him, and that's a really smart move. Um, you need to do that. And you need to
Yeah.
mind the company you keep, and the people around you have to be very sensible. LeBron had very sensible people around him. Rich Paul, Mav Carter, super sensible people. His wife, super sensible person. Like these sensible people, they keep you sane. And so much of LeBron's success, people talk about LeBron's success like, oh my God, he was the chosen one and he actually made it. Yeah, he fucking made it because the people around him allowed him to. But there's so many people, so many NBA players who owe favors, who have loyalties to people. I mean, a lot of people come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And just as you were talking about, like, like what that situation would be like, someone trying to get a rise out of that person, I've gotten
Yeah.
violent many times on the basketball court. I've thrown punches at people for sure. And I don't think turning into an NBA player would change that about me one bit. I get
Right.
myself kicked out of the league or something.
Right.
Like,
Sure.
Malice in the Palace would be a daily occurrence with me. Like, every day, fan would be like, what'd you
I wouldn't have
say?
thought that about you, Rod. Rod's ready to throw down at the drop of a hat.
There's no
I
empathy.
was. I was. When I was younger and the testosterone levels were flowing and, all sorts of, insecurities were flowing. Yeah, I was very, very quick to anger. Like super quick to
That's
anger.
funny.
Like when I was 18, 19 years old. Also, you mentioned earlier that your parents, were violent. Mine too. A lot. Like very, not my dad, my mom, extremely violent. My dad never touched me ever. In fact, he would get violent if someone tried to touch me. Like, he would defend me. But my mom, extremely violent towards me. A lot of people in my life, it was very normalized. It's very normalized.
Yeah.
A lot of European kids in the 80s got beat up. A lot, maybe that's I talked to a Serbian friend of mine who came over and for a basketball scholarship, and all of his friends are black. All of them. Doesn't have a single white friend. And I was just like, how does that keep happening? He's like, well, we have everything in common. Our parents beat us. We love basketball, and we don't necessarily fit in. It's a perfect thing. So yeah, like it was common, and it was very difficult when that violence is happening to you to not then reflect that outwards.
Yeah, and it's just sort of, yeah, I think it gives as I don't ever want to say I would never hit my child, for sure. Would never condone hitting your child.
Me too.
But for me getting hit, like, I was an idiot when I was a kid. So me looking back now, I'm like, yeah, I probably deserve to get smacked around every once in a while. And what it likely did was sort of it kind of laid enough of a foundation to recognize that, shit in this world isn't always black and white, right? There's a lot of gray, and there's a lot of people that get away with a lot of bullshit, and there's a lot going on that what can be seen at face value, right? Yeah. And so like, I don't know. And not, like I said, it's never good to hit your kids. I'm never going to hit my son. That's never going to happen.
Well, at the very least, should not be your first resort. Like that.
Right. Exactly.
Coach Mo's kids are in trouble. They're in trouble. It's like, yo, I told you once. That's resort number 1. I threatened you. That's resort number 2. Resort number 3. Get out of here.
Do you guys agree, though? Do you guys agree? What I noticed growing up is there are kids who actually raise themselves.
I raised myself. Actually, I did not raise myself. TV raised me. Yeah, Family Matters.
What I mean by that is you don't have to do much parenting. Then there are the kids in the middle, and I was like the kid in the middle. Then there are those kids, it's like they are like just constantly fucking up, and you got to be really attentive. And then that first kid, it's like they're going to be successful almost even in an environment in spite of you. Like, there's different kids, right? And some kids, it's like you can see parents struggling not to beat them up. Like, we've all seen kids at school where you're like, my God, how does anybody live with this guy?
Yeah. And in the 80s, I was like, before the internet, I would do anything that I could to get out of the house. I lived in the suburbs. But I went to school downtown, right? So I was on my own. Like, I was taking the subway home an hour and a half to 2 hours a night from age 9 through all of elementary and high school, right? So there's
2 hours. The fuck were you going?
I lived in Maple. Do you know, like, where Canada's Wonderland is?
Yeah.
And I went to school at Yonge and Dundas.
Why not just go to Father Bersani or something?
Yeah, because so there was a specific school. There was like a I went to St. Mike's Choir School, as you learned the night that we went to the game together. And it was your condolences. Not St. Mike's College, not the sodomy school. My school was very different. It had a music component to it. My parents knew that I liked music, and so that's why I went there. But yes, it was a far distance from where I lived. And so, and it was also the days before cell phones and that sort of thing. And so there was an amount of independence that I grew up with that just doesn't exist anymore. And I think that kids, not to say that you want your kids, going off and doing that shit on their own. But there's definitely it was a different time. The 80s and 90s were a different time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised, not really surprised actually, to see how many people are writing in that they got beat.
Come on,
I got stitches. I got stitches as a kid.
Oh my God, it's everyone. Holy shit.
I got stitches on the top of my head. I had to get stitches, and I remember at the doctor's, office getting stitches on the top of my head, and I had to get my head shaped a little bit so they can do the stitches properly. And it was my mom, because my mother was the more violent one. My
Oh
dad really didn't
man.
hit me, and I always used to. I always think the mothers hit more because they feel like they got to put in more effort. Like the dad is the big strong guy, so he's like, you're a kid to him. Like he doesn't want to beat you up because it's like, why would I beat up a kid? I'd rather fight a guy my own size. But anyways,
Mhm.
I digress. The doctor said, "How did this happen?" And I was like, "Oh yes, this is my chance to get revenge." And I remember my dad gave me the sternest look he ever gave me and shook his head, saying, "Don't snitch on your mom." And I just said I fell down the stairs, but I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, mom's gonna get it. Mom's gonna get it." And my
I
dad
gotta
was like,
I gotta
"Oh,
tell you, look, I don't know if it's my place to say this to everyone in the chat who's saying that they deserve to get beat or whatever. I don't think you deserve to get beat. I don't think anyone deserves to get beat. I'm just being straight up, like
Yeah, and
real.
also,
If you,
sorry,
yeah,
a beating is different than getting smacked around.
people aren't
Like,
talking about getting smacked around.
yeah,
People are talking about
yeah,
like
yeah,
wooden spoons and stitches. Like it's different.
yeah.
And look, I guess I could share this. My mom broke my ribs once, for missing
Oh, geez,
curfew.
dude.
It was hardcore. Like she kicked me. I was on the ground. She kicked my stomach so hard. Um, I also dealt with a mother who was like sometimes suicidal, or at least vocally she would seem like she was suicidal. Like we would get into a dispute, and she would just go for the knife or something crazy like that. And I got to tell you, it's such a toxic environment to grow up in.
yeah,
Um, and I don't think any of these people who beat their children, no offense to anyone who does, no offense to anyone who was beaten. I'm not trying to talk mess about your parents or whatever. Everyone's doing the best they can with what they know how to
mhm,
do. I don't think that any person who's doing that is okay with themselves. I cannot imagine being okay with yourself and then thinking it's okay to beat a child. It's not okay to beat a child. It's not okay to ridicule a child, embarrass a child, humiliate a child. And the worst part about this, and I hate to say this, but the worst part about this is so many children grow up thinking that they deserved it because they ended up okay. I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
The trauma trigger here, or at least, and I did a lot of deep work into this, by the way, guys. Like I just want to say I didn't study this. I didn't like I didn't have a degree in this or whatever, but this is a really big part of me because for me, ever since I was 12, I wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be a parent for some silly ass reason, and I don't know why. I've always just looked forward to that stage of my life. Maybe it was a chance to do it all over and do it right,
me
do
too.
right by somebody else, right? I feel that, Mo. Like, and for me, a lot of that was okay. Well, I don't want to make the same mistakes my parents made, and
Amen.
in order to do that, I got to get better. I got to learn from what my parents did, and I got to be better.
Yeah,
And one of the things that I constantly found myself doing is hating what my parents did and then repeating it. Like I would hate something that they did and then I'd find myself doing it again. Like, for instance, like I would chastise or ridicule like someone on my team the way my mom had ripped into me, I would rip into them. I would be
right.
critical of my dog or dismissive of my dog the way that my mom was of me. And I noticed that it was hard for me to advance past the treatment that I had received because I had never known better. I don't know better, so I can't do better. Even if intellectually I can read all these books and
yeah,
pamphlets that say this is wrong, I've never really experienced that kind of kindness, love, compassion. And then I started to receive it. And then the more I received it, the more it enabled me to give it to myself. And the more I gave it to myself, the more I was able to show that compassion towards other people. Um, I remember when I was 5 years old getting slapped in the face because I dropped milk on the floor. I understand it's a minor convenience. I didn't mean to drop milk, but that's not a reason to get slapped in the face. It's very
no,
traumatic.
Definitely
And,
not.
you know, um, for a child who's, under 6 or 7 years old, they know, whether they know or don't know, subconsciously they know that they cannot exist without their parents or guardian, their
mhm,
grandmother, whoever looks after them. They know that they cannot feed themselves. They know that they would not exist without this person. So this person becomes their primary bond and, their primary connection to survival. And every being, whether it be an ant or a spider or an elephant or a human being, is basically wired to survive at all costs. You would do crazy crazy, unthinkable things if your survival were on the line, including, lifting cars if your survival depended on it. The fight or flight response is real. And so when the person responsible for giving you that security, that sureness, that food, water, shelter, everything you need is threatening your life. And of course, you don't know when you're 5 years old that getting hit with a hanger or something like that isn't going to threaten your life. You don't know. You feel the pain, the fear, all that shit. It wires you out to be afraid of the world, afraid of connections. It threatens, really, in a very real way, it threatens the connection. So my honest, unsolicited, completely unqualified advice to any parents, young parents, aspiring parents out there: do whatever you want with your children. Never, ever let them think that their safety or that your love and acceptance of them is ever under question for anything. It doesn't matter. They kill somebody. It doesn't fucking matter. They murder someone. They murder a village. You will still love them. You will not accept that they did it, whatever. You will not hit them for it, because violence creates violence. There is an old saying that we used to have in the old country that once blood is shed on the land, it lasts for 6 generations. And you will often see the countries that engage in war consistently engage in war and war and war and war and war. Trauma builds generation to generation to generation. These habits, they do not just go away. So to everyone out there, I assume 160 of you are listening because you either are parents, thinking about becoming parents, whatever. Break the cycle. It's what I want to do. Hopefully I will be able to do it. I hope that we're all able to do it. And some of us are not breaking cycles that are super terrible. Some of us did not get hangers broken on their heads, or vases smashed over them, or stitches, or whatever. Some of it was just we had a parent who wasn't emotionally available, and so hopefully we can be emotionally available. But I never like. You go ahead.
I was going to say it also delays the way the kid emotionally matures by a long time. Like I was when I got hit, I was a ragey youngster, no confidence in myself. So it was only after, it was only after I got into my late 20s, early 30s that I started to build confidence in myself and realized how the error in my ways. Whereas if there's just unconditional love in your family from minute one, then you grow emotionally and you mature emotionally at a far greater and exponential rate. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah, I mean, I guess I wanted to share that as just, it was sort of heartbreaking to see a lot of people saying that they deserve to get beat. I used to feel that way too. I felt like I was a piece of shit. And then, the problem is that you get beat, but you still live. And that's the crazy part. See, subconsciously, our minds, I did a lot of digging into neuroscience and psychology when I had a brain tumor, partly because I wanted to understand how this brain tumor was impacting my brain, but also because I was deeply curious. I'm a very deeply curious person. And one of the things I realized is, let's say, for instance, that every single day of your life, you woke up and you put on red socks, right? Every day you had red socks, because at some point in your youth, you were told that if you didn't wear red socks, even for one day, you would die, right? And every single day you woke up and you put red socks and you didn't die. Well, if I tried to take your red socks away, you might kill me, because it would be like, oh my God, that's my, it wouldn't matter how irrational it was. It wouldn't matter how many people told you it wasn't true. What you know is that you've put on those red socks every single day and you're alive. Well, the problem is that every single thing that doesn't kill us, some people say it makes us stronger. And that's a common, saying, is whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah, that's true. But everything that doesn't kill you becomes a part of your, acceptable treatment psyche, So if, you lived with gaslighting and humiliation and verbal abuse, but you kept living, it's become part and parcel with the concept of existence. You've always lived with it. If you had a parent who bullied you all the time, belittled you, humiliated you, and you did well in school, let's say, and there's a lot of parents that do that, they threaten their children. They say like, oh, if you don't do this, I'll disown you, whatever, whatever, whatever. If you don't go to university, I'll cut you off. And then you go to university, and then you get a good job, and you might be like, well, if my parents hadn't threatened me, or my parents hadn't, like threatened to cut me off, I probably wouldn't have done well. And it's like, you don't know that. You just know how it happened. You don't know how it didn't happen. And yeah, so I just don't think threatening your children works. I don't think beating your children works. I don't. I do, however, think a lot of kids survive beatings and then go on to think, as a lot of people with Stockholm syndrome do, that their abusers were actually helping. And I think
Right.
the most important thing for me was, as you say, forgiveness. It was important, damn right crucial for me to forgive the people who did this stuff, because they did not know better.
And
They didn't know better.
understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were told, if they do not beat their children, someone did this to them. Someone did this to them, and they
Yeah.
did this to somebody else. And, it just takes one generation. I swear to God, if every single person in this world.
We've swung too far the other way, though. Wouldn't you argue we swung too far the other way? Like this current generation, it's like, okay, our parents beat us half to death, and then this generation is helicopter parenting. It's like you get what I'm saying? It's like too much.
Do you think it's helicopter parenting in this
Well,
generation? Is that
I
true?
just
I
find
don't have a lot of parent
No.
friends.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing. I work for this. I work with schools sometimes, and I'm seeing parents drop off their kids to school like they're going off to war.
I
And to
guess they
me,
watch To Catch a Predator.
but I'm not even saying it's bad. But from the way I grew up, I walked to school by myself since like grade. When I was in third grade, I was walking my brother who was in the first grade to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was walking him, and it was like a 10-minute walk, and I'd walk him to school. Now I'm seeing a kid who's like in middle school, and his mom, and like once I saw both parents hug their kid, I love you, yeah, and I'm just like, wow, that's a lot. And I'm just thinking back to what I had, right? So I was like, to me, that's a lot, but I guess that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know. Maybe that's.
I think the news cycle is so in your face these days that parents can't help but be extra protective, because the things that get reported are typically more negative. So you see a lot of negative stuff happening in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, when I went to the school that I went to, it had a music component to it. So we sang in choirs, and we did different music things.
Right.
And we would go on tours to these different places. We go in like Northern Ontario, we go into Eastern Canada, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and these places. We go in different places in the States. We went to Italy in 1 year, and with the exception of the Italy trip, all of these places that we went to, we were billeted by host parents, right? And they were typically congregation members of the church, like people who I grew up Catholic, so it was a Catholic church for us, and we would be taken into their homes, and we would stay there for 3, 4, 5 nights, however long we were in that particular city, and singing concerts. So nowadays, I don't know how. Like I don't consider myself to be a helicopter parent, but as somebody who's fiercely protective of his child, I don't know that I would just let my kids stay with these strangers without a kind of some kind of a background check, like a police check and stuff like that. It's a different world that we're living in these days.
Totally different.
Here's a question for you. Would Harvey Weinstein have passed the background check?
Probably. He was a big fucking Hollywood producer.
Right.
Probably.
So here's the thing. I guess we're getting close to 3 hours in this chat. I'm assuming people have to go to sleep and wake up and have jobs and shit tomorrow. So can't all be artists and stuff. So I wanna end this on a story, and I think it's like a very quick story, but I think it's somewhat poetic, and I hope that it can help some people. A mother who is A mother has a 16-year-old son who wants to go and take the car out to a house party. She fights him ruthlessly on it because he hasn't been an experienced driver. He makes her all sorts of promises. I won't do this. I won't do that. I'll be back before 8 o'clock. I won't drink. There's no drinking at the party. It's very responsible. And reluctantly, she agrees. Okay, so she agrees to let him take the car to this party. She waits for her son to come home, and her son does not come home. And around 10 o'clock, she gets worried. At 11 o'clock, she gets a call from the police that her son is in the hospital, that he was drunk driving, and that he's caused an accident, and that he's killed an entire family. It's tough. And so she goes to the hospital, and she calls her best friend. And her best friend comes, and she looks at her, and she says, "What kind of a terrible mother are you? How could you do this? How could you let your son, your only son, do this? You should never have had children. If you were just going to be such an irresponsible parent, how could you do this?" And now you are probably thinking, what a terrible best friend. What kind of a person takes someone at their lowest point and puts the knife into them like this?
Right.
But you'd be surprised to know that that actually isn't what the best friend said to her. That's actually what she said to herself.
Right. Sure.
The lesson of this story, of course, is that most of us will experience a hardship in life. We may lose a job. We may encounter a divorce. We may, lose a parent, or God forbid, lose a child. We may, encounter sickness, illness. Something horrible may happen to us. However, it is just an arrow. But however, it is not the first arrow that kills most people. It is the second arrow, the third arrow, the fourth arrow, the fifth arrow, the eighth arrow, and the 20th arrow. And usually it is we ourselves who are flinging those arrows at ourselves through the thoughts that we have about things. So this idea of, I wouldn't let my kids do this or that, whatever, I get it. I completely get it, because what would you say afterwards if something were to go wrong, that your only child was, at all harmed in a situation where you could have done more? And, there's all sorts of, stuff there. And I'll definitely put this down in conversations Vince and Rob need to have in 3 years when Rob is a dad or something, because I'll
Sure.
probably feel differently about it then. But I think there has to be some element of, we don't control everything.
Yep.
Control what you can control. Do your best. Live anxiety free. And, so often we end up dreading bad situations. We bring bad situations into our lives.
Yeah, because very easily the scenario could have been, I ban my kid. I ban you. You're not allowed to go to this party. And all he does is steal the keys and goes anyway.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
That, or,
Because no is the biggest yes for most kids.
Yeah.
Sure. And
It
I
was
mean,
for
like,
me.
haven't we seen, like, there was this, I remember this story when I was probably around 21, 22 years old, and there was like some sort of star athlete who just dropped dead of a heart attack when he was 17 or 18 years old. It's unfortunate shit, man. It happens every single day. I think the grand total, and this may be a sobering reminder, 86,000 people die every single day in this world. 86,000. I believe that is the number. It could be.
What are your guys' thoughts on and especially Vince? He has a kid. Like this idea that a child, you don't own the child. Like children is not ownership. They're not a belonging, right?
I agree with that.
It's like
I
you
agree with
have
that.
them for a certain time and then you set them free, right? But
I told my girlfriend that I want my child to be a chess prodigy who has a basketball scholarship to Stanford, and she said, "Stop living vicariously through your hypothetical child that you don't have yet."
That's funny.
Your
girlfriend's a smart girl.
Can I? I'm gonna capture that. I'm gonna screen capture that and send it to her.
oh,
Yeah. No, it's hilarious. But she's right. Like, I mean, you have to be open to the idea that they're gonna like ballet more than basketball. You're gonna be open to the fact that they're gonna want to become a soccer player.
or this idea that they owe you something.
That too. They don't owe you shit.
Yes.
They didn't ask to be born
Exactly.
at all.
Like
And
rub it in their face that you wipe their butts when they were 5 months old or something. I could have threw you in the trash can if I wanted.
your goat says, "Rob, I'm a chess prodigy though." Your goat, There's a 10-year-old. Sorry, he's 12 years old now in New York. He's a real chess prodigy. I I deeply appreciate you, my man, but that guy probably could have beat you in chess when he was 3 years old. No offense.
Funny.
That's just rude. That's just rude.
That's funny.
Prodigy. Yeah, I know you're joking. I know you're joking, man. Yeah, like I think we all have unfulfilled childhood dreams, and maybe we all want best for our children. Obviously, I would love for
I
my
mean,
kid
of
to be
course you're gonna
into art
present.
house cinema and be social and be super funny and awkward, not awkward, but like there's a chance that they're gonna be like a total outcast, a loner. They're not gonna like sports at all. They're gonna
Yeah,
like
it's
comic
possible.
books the whole time, and they're gonna
They're
be a
gonna
band
want. They're
nerd.
gonna want to play video games for 8 hours a day or something.
Jeez, please no.
Yeah.
But you're gonna at least present chess to your children. I mean, you're gonna you're gonna play your favorite music for them because it's yours, right?
Yeah. Sean Stevenson asking, what was that Luca chess story you shared on Insta about? Yeah, so chess.com has a Luca bot. It's a Luca AI bot. It's really cool. You get to play
Oh,
Luka
I saw
Doncic.
you posted it. It's like everyone is something in their head.
Everyone's something when they're up. Everyone's confident when
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
up or
yeah.
something like that.
By
Everyone's
the way,
caught.
we need a Dallas Phoenix first round matchup. I think
Oh
it
my
would.
God, no. Adventures with Smiles. Your kid's hero could be Pascal Siakam.
Oh my god.
Okay, I draw the line here. If my child ends up becoming a Pascal Siakam fan, I will disown them. This is my toxic childhood coming out. I will disown them. I will send them to the streets. Yeah, that's not happening. Have I played Mittens, Rob? No, I have not played Mittens. This is all chess talk. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming on. Really appreciated the late night chat. I hope it seems like these videos go a little bit longer after losses than wins. Probably because people need them a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, we need them. I'm
But
here for the losses.
and we get more philosophical. Start talking more about life.
this is what the Raptors do, right? Like they have you pondering your own existence. They have you questioning
Sure.
reality. Is this real? Is any of this really happening? Is this chair a chair? Is this what is blue really? Like it
Yeah.
gets you really deep, right? Because it's just like, what the fuck am I watching here? Yeah. Anyway,
If you want to bring it back to NBA for 2 seconds, the Clippers get destroyed by the Golden State Warriors tonight. They get outscored 42-16 in the third quarter. Ouch, with their full roster. So maybe we do beat the Clippers. We never know.
By the
wow.
way, that guy you were speaking about, Rob, the YouTuber, I was actually watching his videos this summer, some of them, and by like the fourth one, I said I can't listen to this guy anymore because it's too extreme hot takes. Like they don't even make sense. Like he's not making sense. He's talking in fantasy land of what this team could be, and I'm like, and I was like you, Rob. I was optimistic about this team this year. The way this dude was talking, oh my goodness! I was like, okay, this is delusion. I can't be a part of this. Like even for me, who was being optimistic, and now I'm doom and gloom. So what do I know?
I mean, it's
Crazy
just
the way
like
he talks. It's crazy.
it's so fucking weird,
For a
yo. Like
New Yorker who's a diehard Raptors fan, it just seems.
I mean,
weird.
I'm a New Yorker who's a diehard fan. I mean, I know I live in Toronto now, but like, I mean, I'm a New Yorker, and it's like, I mean, to me, it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, I got bullets for y'all. I got bullets for y'all. Like, what are you talking about, bro? This is not a rap battle in the 1980s. You don't have to shoot anybody. Like, what are you on, bro? Like, I get being hype. I get being aggressive. I get it.
That's why I
but
like
like,
this video.
we're
I thought it
coming
was
from
satire. I thought it was
for
satire.
sure. Like, I mean, it's like a joke on himself, but he's not in on the joke.
Yeah, yeah. It's
No,
like
he-
satire that doesn't stop. And then it stopped becoming satire. It started becoming reality.
You know what? Is like I believe Napoleon complex is real, for real,
yeah.
100%. Go find me like this is not like I'm not trying to be rude to guys who are like 5'4", 5'5", whatever, but I imagine it's very difficult to be that height to stare up at everybody being like way taller than you. I mean, I found it hard enough to be 5'11" myself, you know, like looking up at 6'5" guys, whatever. It's you know, you puff up a little bit, you talk a little bit more smack, you act a little bit big. I get it. You know, so being 5'6", 5'5", whatever that guy is, you know, I understand that he needs to puff up, talk big, off camera, right? Everything's off camera, no on camera. because man can't put his face on the camera. He wouldn't do that. He can't open up his show to live streams. He wants to act like live streams are a fucking joke because his subscription trial ran out. Yo, that's the truth. You want the truth? That's the truth. He signed up for StreamYard free trial, cheaped out, didn't want to pay. His live streams were going well. People were tuning in. We were losing audience. We're like, oh my God, this guy's going to be a threat. Didn't bank on $25 a month being the thing that kept the man out of, you know, the streaming game. But apparently $25 a month kept him out. So congratulations to him. But then he comes at it with like, oh, I can't be bothered with all this streaming stuff. It's like, no, you can't be bothered paying $25 a month. You're like, so some people are just, they're so delusional that it's almost tough to call them out on their bullshit because they're not even bullshitting you. They're bullshitting themselves. That's basically where I'm at with that guy. He's just bullshitting himself.
Who are you talking about right now?
This dude. Oh, has he? He showed his face, his old videos? I haven't seen it.
Neither have
Oh,
I haven't seen
NBA
it.
Chef. Is that the guy that laughs at the beginning of
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
videos?
yeah.
Yo,
I
man,
don't like that dude. Sorry, I don't like his videos. Some of the stuff
No,
I maybe
I really love them. I really love them, but it's like the same jokes over and over again. It's like, it's just like extreme. It's like satire, you know. It's like if Matt Devlin had a podcast, and he was black, and he just was super pro propaganda for the champion.
My man just called Chevin a black Matt Devlin.
Yeah, he's a black Matt Devlin homer.
Yo.
Guys, so he's gonna love Fred. He's gonna love Pascal, of course, right? Now he's rooting for Yak, you know, bench mob.
Oh,
That's really funny.
Sean Stevenson with the joke. He pays $28 for the joke. He says this would have bought him a subscription to StreamYard. Poor Chev. Reach out to me, Chev. I'll give you $25 for a subscription, bro. Like, this guy made a 30-minute video about me. 30 fucking minutes.
He did?
A 30-minute
That guy,
video.
Come on, did he?
What's wrong with this current
I'm not
team?
joking. 30
Blind
minutes
loyalty.
about me.
Bro,
Mediocrity.
reaction
Said,
to the reaction.
I'm gonna come into your live. I'm gonna take all these people you don't even know. I got a nephew. He's growing. He's gonna take all your audience. Your audience is super young, and I'm like sitting there. YouTube analytics. Click. Audience 34 to 44, 54 to 60. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Yo, honestly, there are certain personality types that just bother me senselessly, and almost all of them have one thing in common: they lie constantly.
And
They just have they have such a fast and loose relationship with reality. Like, and I think, like, to end this thing, like, I've talked gaslighting a couple times, and it's a bit of a buzzword nowadays. I don't think people necessarily even know what it means. Sometimes people don't know what it means. And I mean, I'm curious. Vince, you know what it means, yeah? Gaslighting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mo,
yeah.
what do you think it means? Like, I'm curious for your definition.
It means you say provocative things on purpose to garner a response.
Nope.
I think it's
Oh,
when someone is experiencing something that's actually happening and you're making them think it's not happening.
Correct. That is a little bit closer to
It's
the
like
thing. So
manipulation on
so
purpose.
it's based on a play. Ironically, it's based on a play that turned into a movie called Gaslight, in which a husband, in order to manipulate his wife into thinking she's actually losing her mind,
Yeah.
will misplace things in the house and then convince her. Now, the example I gave my girlfriend, I was explaining gaslighting to her today, was imagine you're cooking and you pull out some broccoli and you put it on the counter and you go to the washroom, and then I take the broccoli and I put it in the garbage. And I don't tell you that I did this, I just do it. And you come back and you can't find the broccoli anywhere, and you think you're losing your mind because you're like, what the fuck happened? There was broccoli right there. You're looking at the dog didn't eat the fucking broccoli. He hates broccoli. Where did the broccoli go? This is crazy. Like, it was supposed to be here and it's not here. And a day later you open the garbage and you see it there, and you ask me, like, Rob, why did you throw out the broccoli? I'm like, I didn't throw out any broccoli. What are you talking about? That's gaslighting. Because in a weird way, can you imagine the psychological state of mind that you would be in having experienced that your boyfriend, who has no reason to throw out broccoli, who is not known to throw out food or pull elaborate pranks on you.
Vince's boyfriend?
Me.
Oh, okay, your boyfriend.
No, I don't have a boyfriend. What are you talking about? No, my girlfriend. I'm explaining. Yo. Oh shit. don't lose your chat right now. Don't lose your live stream. No, what I'm saying is if her boyfriend, which was me, if I had done that and she had not known about it, and I'd convinced her that she had done it to herself or that she had thrown out that stuff, that would be gaslighting. And too often when we talk to somebody, it would be like, hey, you remember that you agreed that you wouldn't be late anymore? And they'd be like, I never agreed to that. And now you're like at a conflict because two people, when they meet, they have to share some version of reality that happened. You can't just be all completely different, like wavelengths. And so like Vince and I, we have to agree that when we met up, I was wearing shorts. And we went to a Raptors game, and we went to the Platinum Lounge, and we ended up like there has to be some agreement. We did it at the Pelican, it was at the Pelicans game. We met up with Greg, who's the director of Raptors Open Gym. This is an agreed upon narrative that we can both share in that's what happened that night. But imagine if Vince and I talk like 3 weeks from now and be like, you remember when we went to the Knicks game? Do you remember when we went to the Knicks game and we met Patrick Ewing? And he's just like, what? That literally never happened. It happened with somebody else. I'm like, no, man, it happened with you. Like, that's gaslighting. So that's what I feel like when I listen to that guy's videos. It's like he's talking about a game that didn't fucking happen. He's talking about players that don't exist in a way that they don't exist. And it's crazy to me. Scotty quit on his team. Scotty didn't do this. Scotty's not a point guard. Scotty's like, what the fuck is this guy watching? It's like either he's really stupid or he's just lying. And I don't really know if he knows the difference himself. So
it's usually really evident when he talk, like he just talks in hyperbole.
And
Like
it's all hyperbole.
hyperbole.
And it's like what I hate is like, it's like I'm not like one of those people like, who's like, I want other people to fail for me to succeed. I don't care. I think we can all eat. I like shouting at other content creators that I believe in. But when I turn up on Raptors YouTube pages, other comment sections, and I see this guy's talking points being like, why doesn't Scotty play in the first 3 quarters? He's just lazy in the first 3 quarters. I'm just like, oh my God, this is where these guys are getting it from. How many times have I heard Scotty quit on his team? Scotty dogging it. Scotty's like, my God, it's difficult to listen to this shit. And
they'll never talk about Siakam disappearing in the fourth.
Yeah,
they'll never talk about that though.
Yeah, I mean, Clutch Tatum saying, if Rob made straight up videos dedicated to calling out, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, that Vince and I talked about this off the air once, but like that Gubstown dude, whatever, he made a video specifically about me, and I don't like that. It comes up in context. I'm still talking about basketball. I'm not necessarily talking about him, although I'll agree, I am talking about him a little bit. Like at this point, he's just getting irritating. He's calling me out without calling me out. And I mean, he's ducking me in a way. I'm calling him out while calling him out. I'm calling him out straight.
Dude. Yeah, he's riding your coattails is what he's doing. He's saying, this is my response to Rob from Pensare Basketball. That's what he titled.
That's what he did.
Video.
And I mean, like, it's like, I'm not even sure if I prefer what he did or if I prefer what Chet is doing, where he's like, he's laughing and he's just like, oh, fourth quarter Scotty, huh? And it's just like, Are you messed? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, yeah, he is fourth quarter Scotty. Like, let me know, Chev, if you reach out to me, let me know if you scored 19 points in your entire life in competitive basketball, because that's how many points Scotty scored in overtime and fourth quarter against the Bucks. Okay, so fourth quarter Scotty, yeah, like that's a real fucking thing, man. And like the fact that this 21-year-old is like getting trashed by this 50-year-old, has been nobody, for doing a fucking great job. Like it's one thing to say, yeah, we need more from him, whatever, but to trash this idea and to say that he's not trying in the first 3 quarters, like this guy's version of basketball, like his evolution of basketball pretty much stopped in 1992. That's when he stopped learning about basketball, and he's just been peddling the same shit since.
Which good players are going balls to the wall in the first quarter? Like, do you know any? What really good players that show up in the fourth quarter go ham in the first?
None.
None.
Michael Jordan.
Look at who leads. Look at who leads the league in fourth quarter points this year. De'Aaron Fox. He doesn't do shit in the first quarter. Nothing.
Yeah, cardio.
Yeah.
But it's like it's one thing to present it as, saving it, whatever, but it's like it's another thing to, like, there's only one ball. There's not 5 balls. It's not like there's 5 balls and they're all taking shots at the same time and you're like, oh wow, Scotty just misses all of his shots in the first quarter, he makes all of his shots, and he's actually upping his usage massively in the fourth quarter.
But the logic by most great players when they do that is, I can get mine whenever I want. The rest of my teammates can't necessarily get theirs whenever they can, so I need to help them and get them going first. That's what the logic is. Like, look, that's what LeBron's logic always is. It's like, I can drop 40 anytime I want, but how does that help my team? I need them to get going, and then when it's winning time, it's the star players' time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm very tempted to cut out this entire like last 10-minute segment. But you know what? To the real ones who get through 3 hours and 17 minutes, whatever, you guys deserve it. I don't want to make it a regular recurrence to like actually. I don't listen to that guy's content, and I ended up listening to one fucking. I listened to literally 5 minutes of it today, and I was done. So
he makes predictions. They're wrong. He just pivots with more hyperbole. That's all he does.
Yeah, I mean,
whenever I'm wrong, I overestimated this team. I was wrong about this. No, it's just more hyperbole.
Look, everyone's wrong all the time.
Yeah.
Even the smartest people. JJ Redick's been wrong. Kendrick Perkins, obviously, I think he was just born wrong, to be honest. But like, he's just wrong a lot. RJ is wrong a lot. Reggie Miller's wrong a lot. Coaches are wrong a lot. Pundits are wrong a lot. Even fucking Ben Taylor, who's one of the smartest people in the world in basketball for thinking basketball, is wrong a lot. Okay, everyone who's going to talk about sports is going to be wrong. Going to be wrong about draft picks. Going to be wrong about teams. I really thought the Minnesota Timberwolves would be good this year with Rudy Gobert. I have mud on my face. I thought the Pistons would be better, and then they shut Cade down for the year. I look like an idiot. I definitely thought that the Kings lost the trade Tyrese for DeMontis, and I'll still think that they lost it, but not by much. Like DeMontis has been helping them a lot. So, we're all wrong all the time. Even with Paolo, I was wrong about Paolo. I was wrong about the Raptors this year. Like I said, I think that they would be contenders in July. I think I made a video. I think the Raptors are contenders, and I still think that OG, Scotty are the second and third best players. Or
where are you at with Precious? You still
X Factor? Yeah.
You're not anywhere near as high as you were on Precious this summer as you are now.
Precious got derailed by that injury.
I
really think
it's weird. Like in a way, I am. Even like I think like his last 3-4 games have been really bad. But prior to that, I mean, 7-8 games, and he's been a difference maker, man. Like you look at the Raptors' record with Precious this year, they're above 500. It's a pretty sizable sample, and he has contributed to winning a lot. There will be some growing pains. I think there are some basketball IQ issues, but I wouldn't mind him being a bench performer for me. I would mind him being one of the 5 players I'm building around or 4 players I'm building around. Right. But I still think that he is an X factor for this team, and that if he's going right, he adds Pascal insurance, he adds OG insurance, he adds Scotty insurance in terms of just a guy who can do a lot of the same shit on defense that those guys do. I think he's very important.
He's just not. He's in the doghouse in terms of minutes because he's struggling offensively, right?
But how is if it's difficult for Scotty to operate with Jakob in the middle? Like, I mean, look, we looked at Jakob's numbers, 8.5 box plus minus. Like this guy's fucking like Nikola Jokic right now, okay? But like it's, I don't know. There are 3 guys who are really struggling with him, and it's the 3 guys you would expect to struggle with him. So I don't know.
The lineups, they're just ugly, man. They're just ugly. So many non-shooters who play the same position.
They are ugly. And look, Ben Taylor's talked about it a lot in Thinking Basketball, where it's like, if you could run a simulation and say, okay, DeJounte Murray on the Raptors, now DeJounte Murray on the Mavs, DeJounte Murray on the Bucks, and then test it out, split test it. If you could do that with players in a real way, like if you really, really could see, okay, Kyle Kuzma on the Raptors off the bench, Kyle Kuzma
2K isn't it? NBA 2K, that ain't it, huh?
Oh, it's close, right? 2K is, but it's not quite it's not quite life. But something like that, if we could get to that point where you could see Scotty at point, Scotty at center for a whole season at 21.
Imagine something like that existed, and then you got good results, and you simulated it multiple times, and you got good results, and then you actually use it to make a trade, a trade, and it crashes and burns, and that system is like you cost yourself so much. Like if if the Rudy Gobert trade was put in a simulation, and the simulation said 2 thumbs up, right? And then this is what happened. Oh my god.
I mean, you know what's funny? I actually ran out the season to start the year with the current rosters, and you'd be surprised. The Raptors finished 8th, and the Minnesota Timberwolves missed the playoffs. So
Wow.
maybe 2K does know a few things. But the Detroit Pistons were 10th. The Orlando Magic were 15th. So I guess the rating system can only be as good as players are actually accurately rated, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure Paolo's better than his rating. Franz is better than his rating. Suggs is better than his rating. A lot of players on the Magic are better than their ratings. And I could argue maybe on the Lakers, a lot of players are worse than their ratings,
Yeah.
Right.
right? So it's a little bit difficult to be accurate. I gotta tell you, I'm very obsessed with 2K. I used to be obsessed with 2K.
I used to be as well.
Yeah, like and not necessarily playing. I wasn't like any good necessarily at playing. Like one on one, like not like online or anything like that. I was just like my GM mode all the time,
Yeah.
and like making trades, like
Did you ever
making
play multiple player my GM? That's what we
no.
used to do as a kid. We'd like have multiple teams in one my GM thing, and then we
How
each
did you
have a
play that? You
team.
played that online?
No, in local on the console.
No, I
We each
understand
have
that,
a
but
team.
like who how you split screen it?
No. I forgot how we did it. It's been so long, but we each choose a team. There's like four
Okay.
of us, and then I guess you could control multiple teams. It was weird, but that's what we did. It was so fun, man. It was so fun.
That's interesting.
So fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone remember Mario Party? Mario
Yes,
Party.
yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Vince is a little bit older than us. I think Mo, you said you were 30, 33, 32,
33.
33.
Mario
Yeah.
Kart.
I know of it.
You know of it. You know
Yeah.
of Mario Kart.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Diddy Kong Racing, that was my jam. Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh my God. This is bringing me back, man. I
You know
have I
Conker's Bad
have
Fur Day? You know Conker's Bad Fur Day?
I've heard of it, but I've never played it. Honestly, I have so many consoles and they're all collecting dust. And one day I'm gonna play video games with my
Kobe Bryant
kids.
courtside?
I remember Kobe Bryant courtside. I remember NBA 2K with Allen Iverson on the
Yep.
Dreamcast
Allen
cover.
Iverson
2K
was on like the first
2K1,
four covers or
2K2,
something.
2K3. Yep.
Yeah.
And then 2K4. Who was the 2K4 cover athlete? I want to say it was somebody else, and then 2K4. Shit. I know 2K6. It was Shaq.
Yes. 2K4 was ESPN basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone says, Rob, please, what day was that video? The wife also wants a good laugh. What video? What video?
2K5 was Ben Wallace.
Oh my God, you said Ben Simmons.
Ben Wallace, sorry, it was Ben Wallace.
Prophecy. Little baby Ben Simmons on the court. One day I will ruin your franchise, and then I will come and ruin another franchise.
I heard one like pundit.
I actually I still have 2K5.
Would you trade right now if their salaries were the same, Ben Simmons for Markov Fultz? If you're the Magic,
I like Markel Fultz. I know
that's
that
how
sounds
far. That's how
crazy.
far Ben Simmons has fallen,
Yeah,
or how much Fultz has risen. I don't know.
I think it's more accurate to say that's it's a combination of both, right?
Yeah.
Like Vince, you like Markel Fultz, right?
Yeah.
That dude's arms are absurdly long for his body.
I like feel good stories.
Yeah. It is.
He got shit on a lot, so I'd like to see him succeed.
You know what? Me too. And I mean, like to end this chat on this sort of similar
That dude had
state
mental health
of
issues too, for sure. Like
I
how do
don't
you
know.
not be able to shoot anymore after he was a
I
good
think it
shooter in
was
college?
physical, but it could be mental. I have no idea.
No, I think it started physical, but then
Andres
like that.
Do you remember Andres Pietrins?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember how he just completely forgot how to shoot free throws?
Yep.
That
Yeah.
dude was nice to start his career. Nice.
He was, and then he just stopped. And I think it's always like I don't know what it's like to be a professional athlete. I've known a couple, up close and sort of just gotten sort of like wind of their day-to-day trials and tribulations and their struggles and what they go through. It sounds exhausting. It sounds really difficult. I know I couldn't do it. I can't stick to a diet for 3 days, much less for an entire year. Who the fuck am I to judge Zion for eating, whatever? And, to something that Vince said earlier, just because they make a lot of money doesn't mean that they're not human beings, or that I'm paraphrasing, but sort of, what you were saying. So anyway, I think it's a good place as any to end this chat. Thanks to everyone for sticking with us. Please make sure to hit like on your way out. It would help a lot. And thank you so much to Vince and Coach Mo and Larry and YOURGOAT and everyone who came on today. It was a really lively chat. I'm very
By
happy.
the way, it made me think of Marco. What was his name? Marco Bellinelli. I thought that dude was going to be great.
Marco
Because of
Bellinelli.
yeah. That dude, I don't know.
I liked him a lot. He was in
Golden State. He started off in Golden State.
he started on Golden State and ended up in Toronto.
That
I liked him. I liked Carlos Delfino too. He was good. I realized Delfino is Argentinian.
I didn't like that
I'm not just
tattoo, though.
naming Italian players.
Rocco Ukic, anyone?
Roko Ukic.
Yeah,
And
Rocco
yes,
Ukic.
Roko Ukic was my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. We're gonna take care. And by the way, I literally saw Roko Ukic play when I was 16 years old. He was GOAT. Like he was
Nice.
so fucking good. He was the hope of Croatian basketball
Nice.
for a very long time. And yeah, my snake is actually named after Rocco.
Oh, nice. You have a pet snake? Bro,
I
you
do.
gotta bring him on a pod.
Yeah, I will. All
Okay.
right, guys, take
I'm
care.
gonna work on a list of. Do you remember these Raptors? I'm actually gonna do that. I'm gonna work on a list.
Alan Anderson, stank face himself.
Walt the Wizard Williams.
No, it's
Oh,
all gonna
man.
be all foreign players.
Menke Batir,
Oh, Manga Batir, that is digging in the crates, bro.
Maceo Bastin,
Yeah,
Menke
Maceo.
Batir. Maceo Bastin had me hopeful. I'd watched him in Maccabi Tel Aviv. He was good.
Rasho Nesterovic.
Love Rasho. Saw him passed out once. That was fun. All these it's kind of cool. Like being Balkan is kind of interesting because the community here is very tight. And so when these guys do come over, there are restaurants that they all go to. There are churches, obviously, we all go to, and so you kind of get to know them a little bit when they're here. It's always interesting.
Slokar.
Uroš Slokar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We got the entire Yugoslavian connection there because Slokar was Slovenian and and also Goran Dragic, Slovenian. Pedro was Serbian. We we drafted a Serbian player once whose name I shall.
Popso.
Yeah, Popso and I. Yeah. Just never
Keep
bring
going,
up Pops.
keep going. Vincenzo
Nope.
Esposito.
Nope. We're not talking about Popso. Yeah. Long story short, we just don't bring up Popso.
Just imagine the talent, like that roster, that 06-07 Raptors roster. Like the talent, forget even 06-07. The talent that the Lowry DeMar teams had that were like top 3 in the East, that is bottom feeder today. Like the talent level you need to even touch the 5th seed in today's East is like
the talent has gone
it's gone up so much.
And people don't believe it because the top 10 hasn't moved too much, right? I mean, if you really, really look at it, the top 10, 12 players, if I plopped Kevin Garnett in today's NBA, he's still a top 5, top 6 player.
Easily.
Tim Duncan, still top 5, top 6. Michael Jordan, still top 5, top 6. Is those top guys have always been good. I think there was maybe a 2-3 year window in the NBA where the top 5, I don't think I can remember, even like when the league was somewhat depleted of talent, which is like 2000, 2001, Shaq, Duncan, Vince, Kobe, like these are still top 10 guys today.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
But it's when you get past that list of top 10 that you start to see the gap widen. And I think where it widens the most is around 40 to 75. Players 40 to 75 used to be like whatever, like I'm talking Theo Ratliff, Jamal McGlure, Antonio Davis, Charles Oakley, Morris Peterson, I'm just naming a lot of Raptors. John Starks. Shit. Guys like this.
Yeah.
I feel like
This,
instead of
the
40 to
second,
70, they would be closer to like 75 to 180 now.
I think the second, third, fourth, fifth guys on rosters are so much better.
They really are.
So
And I
much
think
better.
also, like, if you consider like the expansion of the globe,
Yeah.
like how many more people are playing basketball,
Like,
right, in the world? How
I
many
think-
more people are there in the world? Number
like
one.
the year, let's take Mitch Richmond's best year of his career. He was what, like, let's say 1998 or something. He was what, top 15 player in the league? Something
Probably, yeah.
like that. Mitch Richmond today, where would he be?
I don't know. Let me just verify this
Because
with.
it's like,
I mean,
Paul
he's a
George.
21 point per game. You know, four rebounds, 3.5 assists. Like, Mitch Richmond was no slouch,
no, he
man.
was no slouch. But I'm saying he didn't have much competition in terms of his position.
Bro, he played during Jordan's prime.
Yeah.
Played during Jordan's entire prime in
But
the
I'm
same
saying it was
conference.
Jordan. It was Jordan, him,
Well, he
and
didn't
Reggie
play.
Miller.
I mean,
Now,
there
today,
was
there's, like,
more than
Paul
that. You just
George.
very conveniently glossed over Clyde Drexler.
Dominique Wilkins.
Sure, but Clyde Drexler at that point was
Okay,
tail end,
let's
right?
let's put it this way. Per 100 possessions, he averaged 30 points per game for his career. That's ridiculous.
That is
His however, box plus minus, so in terms of impact, his best season was 96-97, where he had half of Jakob Pertl's current box plus minus of
I knew you were going
4.6.
to bring it back to Yak at some
What I'm
point.
saying today we have Devin Booker, we have Paul George, we have James Harden.
So basically 31-year-old, 96-97
Chris
Mitch Richmond was
Middleton.
basically, I don't know, you could say he was basically at the time, hold on. So like if I took that season total and I just looked at him, I don't know, man. I think he was like a top 20 player then. He might be like a top 30 player now. I don't think the gap is that big.
Okay.
Maybe 35.
It's more so to the guys, just the fourth, fifth guys, bench guys.
I think it's hard. It's hard for me to judge it because I don't know. Like, part of it is also defense, athletes, depth of roster, etc. Right? Complication of offense.
There definitely wasn't enough talent to have as many teams as the league had at the time. To fill
Yeah,
out
I mean,
all the,
also like
there
we're
wasn't
looking
enough.
at 20. We're also looking at 29 points per 100 possessions without a overemphasis on threes. Like, what if Mitch Richmond was taking as many threes as Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? We don't know.
True.
Anyways, I don't want to go into the whole like plumbers and firemen argument that JJ Redick did. I honestly believe great athletes are great athletes. Yeah, there's some limits
No.
to like how great an athlete can be, but I think like someone like Bill Russell, I think he'd be successful whenever he played. I think like Wilt would be successful whenever. They just would have evolved differently. It's really hard, but that's exactly what I'm saying. Like Kyle Kuzma on 20 different teams. Let's see it. Let's see it.
Kyle Kuzma in the 60s is the greatest player of all time.
I don't think so, but yeah, we'll see. I don't think Kyle Kuzma is better
No,
than
I'm just
Bill
saying
Russell.
you put him in a time machine and you put him against Bob Cousy and
But
50
it's
piece.
just I don't think that, like, see, you can't give one person that 60-year evolutionary edge of training
No, I know.
and
But that's what I'm doing. But that's what I'm
the
doing.
internet. Yeah, well, if we built a time machine, yeah, Kyle Kuzma probably
No,
win MVP
you
in the
watch Back to
50s.
the Future, you just get in the DeLorean.
Yeah. Anyways, enough of this like DeLorean chat. We're Back to the Future, Back to the Past now.
The third movie's a struggle. The third movie was a struggle for me. I'm not gonna lie, it was a struggle.
Oh, yeah. I you know what? Let me end this chat on a very shameful note. I have not watched Back to the Future.
Really?
I run a film
wow.
festival. I'm a filmmaker, and I have never watched Back to the Future. Yep, I've never watched it. Never appealed
There's
to
three
me.
of them. You'll
Yep.
enjoy like
I haven't
one and a
watched.
half. You'll
haven't
enjoy one
watched
and a
any
half.
of them.
It's a
It was
good
a big-
popcorn movie, my friend.
Is it a good popcorn movie?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I've never confessed this to anybody. By the way, just picking a really awkward time to confess it on a
There
live
was
stream.
there
but
was
yeah.
this meme that reminds me of what you just said, where it was a girl and it said, "Dating me is finding out all the movies I haven't watched." That was like the meme, like
Right.
just being shocked at like if someone said I haven't watched Good Will Hunting, your jaw would drop. No,
No, I don't think it would drop. But yeah, certainly I would
I haven't
suggest that
watched
they
The
watch.
Lion King. I haven't watched The Lion King. That's pretty weird.
Yeah, you get booted from this chat if you haven't watched The Lion
Yeah.
King.
That's
Exactly.
Makes me cry every time, bro. Simba. Oh my god. Oh man. Yeah, I gotta tell you, like I've watched that film when I was 8 years old, 18 years old, 22 years old, 34 years old. I cannot tell you I've watched it a single time without like
That is
feeling an
the only
overwhelming
movie.
amount of sadness.
That is the only movie I watched with my parents from start to finish.
The only movie you've ever watched with your parents?
Yeah, start to finish, both of them at the same time.
It's a very interesting fact about Coach
So
Smoke.
that one, yeah,
That's a stat right there.
That's okay. Anyways, have a good night, guys. Enjoy.
boys.
And I'm gonna go back to chess.com to pursue my dream of conquering the world of chess. Okay.
And if you don't worry. Just have a kid, and they'll do it.
Exactly. If there's a lesson we can take from this, it is that we can project all of our failures onto our kids. All right.
Yes.
Jake, take care. Have a good
If
one,
you
guys.
fail, have a kid.
Take care,
Great.
boys.
Good night.
Yeah.
See you guys.